3, 2, 1. And come on, let's wave.
Hi, this is Tirthankar Podar, but you can call me Too Blue. And I'm here to congratulate Virat Sood on the 10th episode of his podcast, The VAbE Experience. Virat, my friend, onwards and upwards, full speed ahead. May this podcast take you where you want to go, and may your dreams take flight.
And boom, we're live. How are you guys doing tonight? We are the VAbE, the podcast, the experience. Tonight we have kind of a nice, loving night for sure. I've got
it better be, right?
Oh yeah,
Loving
it has to
night.
be. So, but the topic,
This should be an
Maybe.
obvious indication that we've got a female guest speaker.
oh yeah,
On a lovely night, because never before has
finally,
the night been described as lovely.
it's been unplugged severely. But nevertheless, we've got two very amazing set of people in the room with me, apart from AB Chan and
Yeah.
myself. Yeah.
Obviously.
So yeah, from a very new sort of a standpoint in terms of being on the podcast and in general being on a podcast, I have with me Pallavi, and she is my girlfriend. Hey Pallavi,
Hey everyone.
how are you tonight?
Oh, ecstatic.
That's what-
May I
sort of-
chime in? I know if you guys are done talking.
Okay,
It should be inclusive, bro.
yeah,
Right?
true that. Always inclusive.
Keep talking to us also. So please,
Then,
Pallavi.
Oh, thank
Sorry.
you so much.
that's
See, I'm pretty happy and chill right now, you know. So
You all
I'll
are,
be the
Aren't we?
Yep.
disturbing kid throughout. So bear with me.
Yeah.
And another one very special to our heart, our brother, our friend, our everything. We have Nikhil in the room with us.
Hey guys.
So Nikhil and us, we go back quite some few years ago, and we've done our fair share of conversations. And I mean, it was high time that we gave him a mic as well with us, so that we wanted our listeners to sort of be able to self-reflect on a few things. So yeah, that's the guest tonight. And the topic we were thinking, we've been actually kind of postponing this since a while, but I mean, we were thinking of speaking about assumptions. I know we've got a very sort of a chill room as of now, but then the topic is damn intense. A lot of heat coming through, a lot of coolness as well coming in. So the topic for today's podcast is assumptions. As usual.
Yeah, so I was more than ecstatic to respond
Oh,
before you asked. So basically, the first thing that comes to my mind about assumption is like when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me.
Exactly. Assumption is something which you have a predefined set of things in your mind and you assume, okay,
It comes with entitlement, I believe. People who have difficulty understanding, like, they feel that they are entitled to certain goodness. And
Okay.
that's when the obvious assumption also kicks in.
So-
Pallavi.
I would rather keep my thoughts to myself right now. I'm
Okay.
just waiting for the right moment.
Sure, but with the definition, I guess maybe there can be a few things which can be ironed out. So assumptions, the way I see it, people coming in and sort of trying to create or live a particular alternate reality basis their own set of pasts. So by that, I typically, this is my understanding of assumption. Now, in the past, let's say, I've seen certain set of people in my organization dishing out certain numbers. I try to use the same template in a different environment altogether. People coming in from a different walk of life. People also, trying to sell a different product altogether, which has a lot of variables. But basis my own past and experience, I come up with perhaps an assumption of a deadline in my head. For sure, that gets ironed out once we sort of check the numbers and everything. But then again, things are basis a few assumptions. So I wouldn't necessarily say assumption as maybe something which is bad.
No,
At
but
times you need to.
you are taking assumptions. Now you have
In
assumptions.
a working
In a working
environment, I mean,
environment, it's
those are
different.
not just
No, no, so-
assumptions. Those are
So I'll add the layer which is left to it. In any environment where things can be calculated for. So that typically isn't 100% assumption. Like the other day we were talking about a 70-30% sort of a thing, where 30% can be pretty much calculated, but a few things are more like a leap of faith.
No,
Right.
but assumptions always come when see there are two kind of assumptions. Assumption is work is completely
Hmm.
different.
Hmm.
क्योंकि मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि you are assuming things to get done because office is paying you for getting things done. So you
Okay.
assume you're trying to find ways because it's always trial and error in office.
Hmm.
But when it comes to lives, assumptions are there wherein मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि I assume things just to keep me happy. It is more
Okay.
of like I am assuming something. Okay, ऐसा होगा, वैसा होगा,
Hmm.
ऐसा होना चाहिए. Some things turn out to be true, some things doesn't.
Okay.
So I am keeping assumptions basically to amuse myself in terms कि हाँ मुझे एक हाँ the way you said we are trying to create an artificial reality basically thinking of something different. मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि assumptions it's more of wherein
it's a good
you're
perspective.
Exactly.
creating a self a self dreamy world in your mind,
Hmm.
getting
Hmm.
happy about it, thinking about it, because assumption कब आता है जब you expect something from someone or anything in that case from anyone.
Hmm.
तभी assumptions है. तो मेरे को तो लगता है of what I have lived assumptions होना नहीं चाहिए क्योंकि it is more of like हम assume करते रहते हैं but वो जो time energy हम assume करने में डाल रहे हैं इससे अच्छा let's not assume things.
So
Let's be
you
in
can
a
offset that basic
Yeah.
energy set from just staying to assumptions. But then how do you necessarily, I mean, I'm just throwing it out there, anyone can pick up. How do you necessarily sort of look at assumption and a visualization on a similar plane? By that, I mean, I'm not necessarily, sort of
That's a good question.
trying to pit them against each other, but on the same plane, if you see,
See,
I am.
there's something called as educated guess,
Hmm.
right? Analyzed decision,
Hmm.
those terms basically. So those are way different than assumptions.
Hmm.
I believe these things have more sophistication. The basic parameter or the basic element would be assumption, obviously.
Yeah.
But they've just polished the nave to a certain notch that it is
Right.
now in this day and age clearly distinct than assumption.
but people
It's like gradually and eventually.
Mhm.
Try to understand the difference.
Hmm.
I believe one word has a negative connotation to it.
That's eventually.
eventually-
Absolutely. So gradually I consider positive growth.
Because it talks more about what
And
things
eventually
will
means after so much of
towards an end.
misery and
Correct.
everything challenges,
Hmm.
you survived.
but assumption is a visualization. मुझे ये लगता है कि
But this is good. I mean, when you say that for your self amusement, yeah, I think this is a lot of people would
Correlate to.
correlate.
yeah exactly. I mean assumptions में amuse somewhere it is sounding right. Amuse लगता है मुझे भी assumption में हम assumption अच्छा ही करते हैं. हम assume हमेशा कोई ये नहीं बोलता कि साला मैं फेल हो जाऊँ या साला मेरे को ये हो जाए जॉब से निकल
Despite
गया.
knowing the reality,
Yeah, we always assume to be in a positive side ki positive and it should be this way. So that's like Abhishek said, it is more of gradually and eventually in both.
You had something to add.
Actually, it's like, assumptions has two sides to it, right?
Hmm.
If you assume something good about somebody,
Hmm.
especially yourself, you assume good about yourself,
Hmm.
but for somebody else, it all depends upon your state of mind, right?
Correct. Where are you operating out of?
Exactly.
Hmm.
So if I am in a happy state of mind, I'll be assuming good about other people.
Hmm.
And if I'm in a shitty mood,
Hmm.
I would assume bad. That's as simple as that.
Makes sense.
In person को लेकर भी जो assumptions होते हैं, that is all because it's all at the end यही होता है कि how the person has treated you or how you have treated the person.
Biased and baggage.
So
Yeah.
when we
Hmm.
assume
I
about
think
someone,
impatience is assumptions like sister.
Yeah, you can say
Huh.
that.
They're siblings. So
want to
basically, you're
judge people
impatient. You're
as
impatient. You
quickly as
cannot
possible.
wait.
Hmm.
You cannot wait for the results to come out, and you
Hmm.
simply start assuming because you're being so bloody impatient.
Hmm.
Because you have such an eagerness to build that mantle in your head
Hmm.
that Nikhil is corrupt
Hmm.
or Nikhil is godlike.
Hmm.
You have that innate desire, like, you just want to close it and immediately start believing.
So it's
So you're
more like a
always in a
borrowed
hurry.
perspective at times as well.
Exactly. It is more of, yeah, like
Could be, yeah.
people are being impatient. अब मैं जैसे
Hmm.
I meet one of my friend, after a long time, or a co-friend, basically a friend of friend.
Hmm.
So what assumption? The first thing that will come into my mind, because I don't know that person. Of late, I have been corrected.
So now
I
this
used
is
to assume-
judging
Exactly. So
and
basically,
hence assuming.
assuming and judging, and you're impatient to know that person. अभी
Correct.
जैसे if I used to tell Abhishek something that okay, ये बंदा ऐसा नहीं है, ये नहीं है ऐसा. So what Abhishek is like, do you know him?
Hmm.
It's like, do you know him? And that's what most of the time now, before me making an assumption for someone, I'll always try to know that person first, because assumption always turn out to be wrong when you're in judging a person.
Hmm.
You assume something and the person is something else.
Exactly. Don't judge a book by its cover.
You're
Yeah.
riding your bike and suddenly a car, like, punches your back, the
Hmm.
hind of the bike,
Hmm.
and you end up in a minor or major accident, but
Hmm.
you're still capable of getting up and confronting the driver.
Yeah.
So that is also assumption, right? You don't know what exactly happened. Let's say there was a kid in the car who just jumped on the steering. Still, the fault would
Hmm.
always be of the driver.
Hmm.
But then, if there was a scenario, if you could look at that scenario through
Unbiased.
the passenger seat person perspective, like let's say you were a passenger in that car, and if
Hmm.
you would have been able to witness that scenario,
Yeah.
you would have more empathy towards the rider.
Exactly.
Of
The right
driver
word
of
also
the
you
car.
used. Typically, like what
So
Nick was saying also.
assumption is
Hmm.
an integral part.
Absolutely. I mean, it cannot be avoided.
We don't even realize.
Hmm. Because what typically happens is even Sadhguru says the same thing, that humans are blessed with two extra faculties, which is your sense of imagination and sense of memory. So typically, where I was coming from for visualization was more from a perspective of imagining things as well. So I can visualize that house. I can no. So I mean the spin to it, I get it. That you need to put pictures of where you want to be so that you can
No, it's
visualize.
still
from that.
fine.
Exactly.
Ultimately, see, I'll tell you, these are the core of it. The core of visualization is belief.
Hmm.
And this has been instilled in people's mind
Hmm.
year, generation after generation, is that the more you see it, the more you'll believe. It helps in
Exactly.
believing. That's why they say
Hmm.
your vision board, it has to be tangible.
Hmm.
There has to be certain pictures, be it digital or
So there you're typically not
paper.
assuming, but there's one
so.
one
It is
part.
just to enhance your belief.
Hmm.
But is it
Actually.
it is added with hope, right?
Because-
Assumption plus hope, then
Hmm.
you can actually have like a dream.
Hope is another debatable topic. I'm not unfortunately prepared for it, but
Mhm.
I very well remember the very first
Exactly.
motivation quote that I remember about hope was, I believe it was from one of the movies. It said, "Hope is a beggar. Hope is a beggar. Hope will always come in where you know you have not prepared well."
Hmm.
It comes from scarcity mindset, lack
Okay.
of confidence,
Hmm.
because you already know the consequences. But then what I feel, that when you're attempting for something which is on a massive scale like UPSC, despite you knowing that you've given your best,
Hmm.
Hmm.
that child still hopes that he gets in. So
We need to
hope,
get
but
him.
still the hope is only applicable in such select scenarios. But if you consider any scenario, like to an extent, even I am of the belief, hope is a beggar. Hope is the kid who didn't comb his hair, tie his laces, wear a belt, badge, whatnot.
Hmm.
Kid is that. Hope is that kid,
But
because again, it's deep rooted. It's deep rooted. Why is the kid that way? Because of his parents.
hmm.
And
Oh.
why are we so much into hope? Because obviously because of our parents, and then majorly the type of company you surrounded yourself with.
Hmm.
Always.
Hmm.
Okay.
You can always choose your friends, right?
Hmm.
You
Yeah,
cannot
I
choose your
mean,
family.
what happens is a lot of people stop the auditing. I do not believe in that, blind friendship. I do not believe that if I'm your true friend, then I need to attend that one distress call throughout the
I totally agree.
throughout the entire life that we have ahead of us. If I could not attend your one distress call, doesn't mean that I don't have good intent. I was just not available for silly reasons, whatnot. But I was sleeping or whatever I was
So
occupied in.
that is where we come with assumptions.
Correct. The one feeling bad is the one with a bag of assumptions. See, the one whose intent is clear, right? Like a person like me would always walk out of a verbal argument lighthearted because I simply do not care.
But when you talk about assumptions now, likewise you said one distress call. If I make you one distress call,
Because when you call, it's not distress.
no, just in case
You don't know it before you can pick it up.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, if I have called you sometime, if I've not picked up, what a person tries to assume over here, हाँ ये मेरे को ignore कर रहा है या मैं कुछ भी कर रहा है जो भी है, people start assuming, and that's where
Absolutely.
when your
Because
assumptions.
there are so many unsaid obligations that you would wonder if there was a day where we could sit with our best of buddies and speak up about the obligations that we desire so out of the other person. Like obviously Viru, you would agree that there are certain obligations, that certain duties or things that you feel I'm obligated to fulfilling when it comes to you. There would be one or two basic. It
Yes,
starts with basic.
Hygiene, mostly hygiene.
Hana?
And it starts
So
with
it's-
assumption.
It is unsaid. Yeah. So it is
Unsaid
assumed.
assumption, right?
Correct.
I mean,
So I only prefer in discussing out the situation through and set the expectations right. I cannot follow the same template everywhere.
yeah.
It's better out there rather than inside you. Yeah.
And your
Always,
assumptions change with, your wisdom, your levels of wisdom.
What I
You
believe,
assume
the
like
less
more
the
calculated
more people
risk.
are educated, the more they assume. People, if you see the people who
We
are
assume smart. Everyone
Exactly.
assumes. Some people assume dumb.
dumb, yes.
That
हमने
again
उतनी ही दुनिया देखी
comes
है
from lack of exposure and probably confidence
No,
too.
not just dunya dekhiye. I spoke to someone. I told him I'm going to WeWork. He asked me where BKC. I don't stay there. Why do you think I would go to BKC? He said no. I thought you typically go that side. I'm like no, I don't. I was at but what happened? All good. So I was a bit worried for him, but it's fine. It happened. So I mean, assuming already at times don't need wisdom is what I was trying to say.
Exactly.
And people just at times they just speak for the heck of speaking also, right?
I
So,
said, right, the more you are into good positions and, the more you're educated, the more, though your mind is expanding with the knowledge, but lesser it, एक curve आ जाता है उसमें, जहाँ पर you start assuming things more, you start expecting more.
you see the world with a particular set of eyeglasses.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. And I mean, that's where the perspectives become really strong that, you know what, this guy is from this place, so this guy would be this.
In offices also, like
On various templates, right? You could put.
And the most beautiful thing about assumption is that you get better with time.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Because
more accurate with time, actually. You assume,
So when
taking
you
into
assume you are
consideration all
imagining.
attributes.
So I mean, those skills are getting sharp.
I would anytime love to amuse myself assuming things, like if I have to achieve something and I'm just daydreaming, I'm doing something, I like to assume things. Okay,
Yeah.
future I would be having
So
this.
those are daydreaming.
Daydreaming, exactly.
I would call them visualizing.
Okay, yeah, you can say that, but that's what we started with. What is assumption and visualization is
So
the
that's
same
what
thing.
even the book about visualization says the same thing which you are saying, that you visualize and bring in the happiness from the future, and then you start living that life so that you're not operating out of fear or the risk or typically those non-productive mindset, but typically you're operating from happiness because now that you've achieved this and sort of come up to your next goal. This is the fruits of your work, and this is what Nikhil typically is doing, and that's simply amazing, because assumptions on symbolism has been pretty prevalent. We were talking the other day, Pallavi, that I mean, symbolism has been within the Vedas and everywhere with respect to certain words, right? Or maybe letters. So perhaps a letter Shri would represent the deity Lakshmi, who is the symbol of money and wealth, typically. So, I mean, the other day we were in Goa also, we were talking about this itself, that how much you need to visualize in terms of how you're embracing money, but also saying the fact that, hey, money, you don't control me, I control you.
control you.
So that's the power you typically give. Now, that set of visualization still to certain extent might just be a bit of assumptions as well attached to it. But at the risk of, sort of opening a very tad bit can of worms, how does assumption and intuition pit against each other? Because and more often than not, I am, cross my heart and hope to die. I'm that serious about this, that women have a very, very strong sense of intuition that even us men cannot comprehend. How does that come up? I'll give you a very simple example. I'm dancing with my very close friend at one of the parties, and she says that, I'm getting a bad feeling about this guy. I'm like, okay, but why do you say that? I mean, have you danced with him or something? Whatever. Says, no, I'm getting a bad feeling. And that guy ends up in a newspaper the next day. That
Wow.
he was, while dancing, you give a dip, right? A girl actually fractured her leg while he was doing this.
Wow.
And he ended up in the newspaper. This was at Cornell. This was at one of the parties. And Varun, edit please, Cornell. Okay. So this was at one of the parties. Very, very scary. And I mean, I was shocked in terms of how accurate could she have been. I mean, perhaps she might have seen his dancing or something of that sort, but she sensed something is going to happen. And one of the conversations which I had again in Goa with this guy, very, very deep-setted, assumption-based and a lot of things. He says that he could actually have that intuition of someone passing away from his family. Now, this was the first person I've come across who actually correlates with me, because I used to have sleepless nights, breathlessness, whenever one of my family members is about to go away. Now, that, I guess, is something which I cannot explain. How does that happen? I haven't met the family guy anytime soon, so it's not in my subconscious or something of that sort. But, it's at times so damn scary. But Pallavi, intuition from a woman's perspective, how does that, sort of pit against an assumption?
Yeah. So while you were talking, I was thinking about, what is the major difference between an assumption and intuition, right?
Yeah.
In assumption, we have like known attributes, right? What are the surroundings? What kind of people are around? So, you tend to get a lot of attributes where you can judge, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe calculate assumption, right?
Yeah.
But in terms of intuition is, it's just like a gut feeling.
Correct.
Right?
Exactly.
So it doesn't have to have like a basis of any attributes.
Agreed. That's what I was saying, right? Beyond explanation.
You can, but I think genetically we are programmed to have like more intuition than men.
Right.
Because in olden days, like evolution, right? It happens, whatever. It's like necessity is the mother of invention, kind of.
Yeah.
So genetically we needed to protect ourselves.
Correct. Whenever the man was going out and hunting food.
Correct.
Or whatever. Yeah.
And we women, right? We sense that. It's like
Exactly.
sixth sense. People call it sixth sense, but I think this is like female sense. We can just have that feeling of, maybe it can actually transpire to physical,
Manifestation.
manifestation
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we tend to just sense it.
Exactly. I mean, and it's
a
deadly
seventh
scary. I
sense.
mean, oof, I've had goosebumps thinking about the things that women have actually sensed that this is going to happen, and all my rational, all my calculations actually tossed off the window because had I betted my fortune in it, I would have been a pauper straight away.
Yeah, we do have that, but sometimes what happens, we, even if we have that sense, right, it takes a lot of time to develop it into a skill,
Right.
basically,
Okay.
because you don't know what is happening, you don't know how to contemplate that.
Yeah.
You learn it eventually. And as a woman, so if a woman has like more experience, different kind of experiences, exposures, right,
Right.
negative and positive,
Yeah.
Whatever, societal, cultural, ye wo. So
Yep.
I mean, the more a woman goes through all this shit,
Mm.
the more intuitive that person is.
Exactly.
So yeah, it has developed with time.
Right.
We were as naive as any human being.
True. No, but
Some
I mean-
still are. Some
Yeah.
still are.
I mean, yeah, that's
Naive or what? Some still are.
Naive, na?
naive. Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
naive.
people who haven't taken that step of being brave, right?
Mm.
Going out and having different experiences.
Exactly.
So
It's
What
not being
happens is
brave.
when you take a pill given by someone,
mhm,
it becomes easier to blame
Mm.
if it doesn't work.
correct.
But when you pop the pill on your own, then everything's on your head, right? So I
Yeah.
believe everyone has that intuition, but they are not able to believe in them. That's why some
But-
people lack.
So
Mhm.
I wouldn't say men don't have intuition,
No,
but
we all
the-
do. We all do.
the
all
one
do.
which I'm talking about
They are
for
just
women,
sharper.
way sharper and deadly accurate. And in terms of, I mean, now we base our assumptions basis a few parameters, right? Women don't need those parameters.
Hmm.
That's the level I'm talking about. Because had you not even seen that person, and at times what happens is I might be going out with a few set of people. There's one woman saying that I sense something bad is going to happen. I'm shitting bricks right there, and definitely something happens.
Yeah.
I'm able
If
to guess in
somebody's-
movies that there's a sex in a head. I'm able to guess in movies.
That's kind of
That's primal
obvious-
nature. That's like
obviously.
primal animal instinct.
Ooh la la.
I did that in Bhag Milka Bhag movie. I still remember there was a kid on my right side and his mother
Mm.
towards his right, and I say it pretty loud actually. And
Right.
that's when I saw her smile, and it's very embarrassing. So yeah,
So maybe let's kind of take a quick recap on what all we kind of tried to come up with. Maybe assumptions as how people typically assume, and then what is the standard operating procedure. Maybe assumptions being pitted against, say, imagination or visualization, and how certain things are more calculated and certain things are, I mean, just based on a gut feeling. And from that, we kind of try to establish something in terms of assumption and intuition.
But I believe it's the most key
Hmm.
factor is impatience. Like
Oh, yeah.
your impatience,
the
is-
most
critical
factor.
key factor
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
impatience.
Yeah.
Like your impatience create you, create your brains to visualize more, to assume more.
Exactly.
Because till the time, because you don't have the patience that okay, I'll have to wait. I will wait.
Right.
You don't have that patience. So the killer factor is that your sense of thinking at that moment and your
Right.
impatience.
No, so okay, no, go on, maybe.
So I was saying, Nikhil, have you like always had these notions about impatience and whatever topics that we're discussing about, or this comes from real life challenges and responsibilities?
And,
How is it?
I'm impatient because I am more of a believer कि आज का काज आज ही हो जाना चाहिए, आज का जो भी काम है.
Hmm.
I'm impatient, very impatient, to be very
Hmm.
honest. But what happens, what I have of late realized is my impatience is just killing my energy.
Hmm.
If I am so being impatient, I won't be expecting, I won't be assuming, I'll be doing it myself. So now I
I am very impatient.
Me
Very.
too. No, I am very patient. That is.
Well, depends. Now, my patience
Yeah.
is good in something else.
But still, I imagine a lot of things.
But because of
Good
that
thing.
impatience, you take bolder steps
Exactly.
because you want that.
Not necessarily it should be right every time.
Yeah,
Why
I
do you
mean-
need
Correct,
to-
correct. But
Hmm.
then, you won't commit mistakes, right? You go all in or all out.
Hmm.
That's what I think.
See, to talk, it is like, okay, fine, we can talk hours and hours on impatience. But in real life, we really don't do that. To be very honest. Like, we are still impatient. At any moment, you'll get impatient.
Yeah, so I mean, those are typical sinusoidal wave type of a situation wherein you are maybe, quite patient in terms of, or even persevering at times in terms of being with, say, a certain set of people as such. But again, when you talk about, say, a goal-based approach, that when you're assuming that, this is my goal, it's an unrealistic one, but perhaps it is one. And I'm assuming to achieve that. And that is where your impatience, I mean, that's what Pallavi was, I guess, trying to put, that what do you typically draw out of it is what I would say is going to sort of feed you. By that I typically mean that you're so scared of the target that you're unable to sort of take any actions, or are already resigned before you even give it an honest day's effort. Or you are I mean, typically operating out of a motivational mindset, saying that. So the video that we were discussing about the other day of Joe Rogan, he says that I mean, in battle, and Pallavi could add, she is a trained MMA artist as well. So yep, that's nice.
Just started. Just started.
Yep. So I mean, in battle, right? You cannot assume that the other person is weaker than you. First off.
Correct.
Second off, even if that other person is stronger than you cannot just say that, I can relax. I mean, I'm not going to fight in his weight class or whatever for that matter. You still need to prepare for it. And you still need to, hit the gym and do your thing and
Yeah.
learn new moves or whatever, however it is. But I mean, assuming that your enemy is going to be weaker, that's a foolish assumption right there.
Oh, anybody who fights, like
Hmm.
I've been trained to fight,
Hmm.
they never assume.
Exactly.
They never assume. So what I want to say is basically, you can train your mind
Hmm.
to, assume some things which. So basically, less negative and more positive. You need to train your mind to do that.
Right.
And you can train your mind just via experiences, different experiences. Right, wrong.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't matter.
No, but still, anything you derive out of it, right? I mean,
Yeah, that's like, so basic human nature is basically learning from their mistakes.
Exactly.
Okay.
ideally. hang on.
Learning from their mistakes.
Ideally,
so this
that is the
learning
basic.
part
Yep.
we already have when we, we are like an infant.
Hmm.
We are trained to actually learn. So
Right.
we are already there. I mean, evolution wise,
Hmm.
we are already there.
Hmm.
So you don't have to teach a baby to, suck his mother's
Breast
breasts,
for nourishment.
for
Yeah.
nourishment, of course.
Yes.
So you don't have to train with the baby, right? So
Yeah.
we are trained to learn.
Hmm.
But the learning capabilities decrease as we,
Grow.
grow old, and
Yeah.
and the culture and the surroundings play a very important role for
Correct.
that. So if you have like a family mindset where
Hmm.
learning is encouraged, any
Right,
kind
right,
of skill
right.
set, right? It is encouraged.
Hmm.
So you will thrive, basically.
Yep.
I mean, and then there is like a family where education and any kind of skill set is not given any importance.
Hmm.
Then the learning will
At times,
decrease
even discouraged.
and discouraged as
Yep.
well.
Yep. So I mean, that actually sort of builds a mindset also, right? But
Yeah.
at times, then your reaction to that situation,
Hmm.
wherever you are in, is going to actually define how
But your reaction depends upon what? Your family, your culture, your surroundings, your teachers,
No, at
your
times-
friends.
at times it goes way against that also.
It can go, of
Yeah.
course. Those are edge cases, but I'm talking about like the generic ones.
We tend to not sort of take actions in a lot of those cases.
Yeah, but coming back to our point, basically.
No, exactly. I was
in-
actually going to dive into it.
Yeah, I mean, you have to train your mind. That's how you just evolve,
You need
and
to
you assume better.
exactly. I mean, you need to sort of come up with a good enough uh, story which you can sort of
And
correlate
there
with.
comes a point where you stop assuming, and then let everything, all the things which are happening in your life, you just let the universe control. You
Okay.
just stop doing that.
So you
and-
have a stronger belief system than what Avi was trying to
Correct.
sort of speak about.
You don't even have to give the bandwidth,
Oh,
to assume.
exactly.
You just embrace whatever is coming your way. And
Mm.
I have done that, and I've got so many beautiful things and so
Exactly.
many learnings.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And at times you need to just put in that faith, saying that yeah, let it happen. I'll
Faith,
still
I always relate faith with religion, so I don't go there.
okay. Oh, all right. I mean,
but
sorry, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I just
A belief is what I meant.
I just let it go. I mean, universe, मतलब वो बोलते हैं ना भगवान देख रहा है sort of situation. But universe is watching you, and
No,
y-
so I guess then
the more you
belief,
let go,
belief is going to be typically inside you. I mean, you believe in yourself, or maybe have faith in yourself. Of course, more
correct. The
inwards.
more you let go, the more life will hit you hard and give you a different kind of high.
That's when you actually start living, and that's why we were kind of talking about.
मतलब जिंदगी तुम्हें बता रही है यार ऐसे मतलब मुझे जियो तुम जीना छोड़ के फालतू चीजें करते हो.
We had that, right? I mean, how more obvious universal signs do you want to go and talk to that particular girl,
Correct.
right? So
Yeah.
and speak about intuitions. How many is what we asked and the universe provided? 3 different signals for this bugger to go out and just speak to that.
Correct. I strongly believe in omens. I don't know why. Again, the intuition and whatnot. But I mean, lately I've been finding that, the more I try to control things, the less happy I am.
I mean, that's what even AB has been telling me, that, you don't need to sort of control the outcome, right?
Correct,
I mean,
correct.
just live it and have a good time.
The journey is way
Easier.
better than the
Way easier.
destination.
Oh, 100%.
Better
If
than
you're
the
saying
destination.
110%.
Yeah.
Couldn't sort of press bot on it, but
I don't know how did we go from assumptions
but
to destination.
that's what it is, right? I mean, it's how you create things. So, I mean,
No, we talk about
visualization,
and then we came to this dreaming, like जो होगा अच्छा ही होगा types and live
Correct.
open types. पता है ये most हमारे पे अभी एक क्यों, like why are we doing it? The only reason being is we are just following this culture of this kind of movies. Life is beautiful, but not necessarily life is beautiful for anyone.
Happily ever after कभी नहीं होता है इसके
नहीं,
बाद.
life is not there are so many people whose life is not beautiful. They're
Correct.
still struggling. They have
Correct.
everything, they don't have everything, but everyone is struggling. They have some or other things. So the
True.
journey is not beautiful for everyone.
it won't always be a bed of roses.
See, it
right?
is how you make of it, right?
Exactly.
I mean, just because Virat is ambitious, he wants to become a pilot, he wants to become an entrepreneur, right? Why do I have to kill myself or beat myself
No,
just because I aspire to be an employee till retirement? Doesn't make me bad either.
Correct.
So it is what you want to be comfortable with. Ultimately, you have to. The convincing story has to be within, right?
Yeah.
That you are sold on.
I'm not against the part that okay, you can't do something. Okay, journey would be beautiful, but I believe in this journey to achieve something, we are always till the last one will be on journey.
See, and again, it is very. I mean, it's quite debatable, yeah, because the whole psychology of people come into play when everyone reacts differently when they are impatient. Just imagine that a life circumstance has happened where they are not getting clarity and they suddenly get impatient. consider
happened.
your impatient times 100 is their state of mind.
Mm.
What all foolish decisions they would be making in life.
Correct.
Compared
Yeah.
to you,
It's
you
all about
wouldn't
mindset,
fuck
I told
you
you.
wouldn't fuck yourself to that extent,
Mm.
to the extent to which the other person with more distorted mindset
Mm.
could go. So the suffering is also a lot of self prescription is in play. Like my suffering, I believe, is primarily self prescribed.
Mm.
Like if I want to feel bad, I feel bad today, and then months go by that I haven't felt the same way.
Mm.
So it is all
That's
what
how you
I'm
look
able
at
to.
it. Yeah.
And again, I have to look at it in a way where I can simplify those things and make it look conquerable. Because I genuinely want to overcome. If I keep looking at it as like, it's difficult, that's not what I want my internal vibes to be.
Right.
So I'll always make even if it's impossible, but it's impossible. If impossible word, a lot of times there are other people who would tell you they
Yeah.
want to have this instilled in you, and not necessarily those people are bad. That is the beauty of it.
Which are the other people?
A lot of loved ones also discourage you from taking some decisions that they feel are very aggressive, rash, illogical.
Because
They don't have the
they don't
clarity.
have the clarity, they don't have the
Correct.
exposure. They weren't in
Forget
any of the
exposure. They
situations.
lack the enthusiasm and the courage to blindly pursue a certain thing
That's
Mm.
what I'm
and
saying.
still be confident that they'll definitely make something out of it. So there are a lot of things missing basically. But then again, you don't live life to fulfill others.
No, so what I would actually slightly disagree with here is, sure, they are saying, but no, rather I would agree with him in terms of these people who are your typical critics, who might just say things which, I mean, is absolutely against your current belief system
Hmm.
as such. You should definitely give them a listen,
Hmm.
maybe reflect upon it, and then if you want, you can still give it power. You could just keep it aside. So, I mean, again, then there would be again zero set of assumptions, right? That what does he think about, or what does she think about this, or so. I mean, necessarily, if I have certain set decision which I want to take, I would approach a certain set person. So, I mean, the whole premise of assumption is out, because here we are seeing a lot of communication which is happening, right? True enough communication coming out of various set of people. So now, for instance, if I have an assumption about, say, a database, I would immediately, sort of hit to Nick, and then I wouldn't sit and assume that, yeah, maybe he would know, maybe he won't know. Let him answer, right? So, I mean, assuming doesn't really help as much at times. Can be really good if you sort of derive something good out of it, but can also be disastrous in terms of causing the 10x pain or
It is just that
Exactly.
state of mind.
Hmm.
In that state of mind, if you are not now, if I have to assume something good about you, maybe my mind should be in that good state. That
Exactly.
point of time.
comes to the first point itself, that what sort of
Yeah.
a mindset are you in
Correct.
as of now?
And I would like to add something. So
Hmm.
I think like a couple of days back, we were having a video chat, right?
Hmm.
You and Abhishek were there,
Hmm.
and Abhishek was saying one thing, right? I mean, he needs to be always assuming that people are coming to him to take advantage of him,
Hmm.
right? I mean, if that's okay.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, he has to assume it because that's like a first line of defense for him,
Yeah, exactly.
and it is very helpful for him
Hmm.
in terms of keeping the bad guys away.
Yeah.
Sometimes I mean, obviously commit mistakes, of course, but it becomes better with time. But he needs to assume that,
Hmm.
and that protects him,
Exactly.
right? So some assumptions, what I think, are good as well.
Exactly.
They are
I mean,
the
that's
first line of defense. Like
true.
if I
Your
assume,
protective sheet. Yeah.
correct. So if I come across a guy,
Hmm.
I need to assume something first.
Hmm.
That's first line of defense.
Hmm.
That this guy might be like this, such a jolly. Okay. He might be into girls and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
So what kind of person he is? I can study his body language, demeanor, and vocabulary as well at times.
Right.
Yeah. So um, I need to. That's my first line of defense.
Now,
Everybody needs to.
hang on. So maybe I'll catch something here. Typically,
Mhm.
um, assumption still is coming from a place when you need, say, certain defense mechanism, right? So let's just presume that you are so damn secured and confident within yourself that you start living life as it is. By that, I typically mean that I don't really assume anything. Let that person answer it out for me.
Mm.
I am so damn secure that I know I am very very secured, and I don't give that power to anyone else in
Mm.
terms of sort of creating or
So the levels of your assumptions have refined now. matlab.
exactly
It has
exactly
it
exactly.
they are evolved now.
No, but then again, it's
The
coming from a
methods are
place.
also
So good you touched on this topic. So my belief is if there are two-way communication
hmm.
Mm.
with oneself, when
Yeah.
there's only one party
Oh my god. Yes.
in the picture,
Yes. Totally.
assumptions
Totally.
can do wonders
Oh.
Right.
for you. The minute the dialogue moves from oneself to actual people,
Hmm.
the lesser the assumption, the
The
more
better.
cherishable the journey would be,
Correct. Because you will be learning more. You will be assuming less and learning more. And you will be in the listening mode rather than, oh, I have already assumed. And, and on the basis of that, those assumptions, I've judged. And then I will, I'll already be knowing everything about the person or the situation beforehand, right? So there might be less and less of learning.
No,
Basic.
so again, I mean the whole if you guys gave a read to today's quote, which I dropped in on um, um, the Vabe
Yeah.
Instagram channel,
Mm.
it says the same thing, right? But then in a very different plane altogether, where it says that knowing your own darkness will help you deal with the enemy's darkness much better.
Hmm.
I mean, this was kind of a quote. I'm kind of paraphrasing here, but it was from Carl Jung, wherein when you actually know who you are, and when you actually know what is yours and what is not yours, and whatever, I mean,
Hmm.
your whole surrounding, right?
Hmm.
That is where you actually come from a very secured standpoint. So once it is secured, do you need a shield of defense? Is what I was trying to sort of reason it out with you guys. So think about it, that maybe you still do need certain shields and defenses that are typically comes from certain set vulnerabilities which an individual has, that
So
you shouldn't jump without a
always,
parachute.
You always have to wear your shield. It's just that the people you meet,
Hmm.
you selectively remove those shields.
Correct.
I get
The
it.
ones you can
You
trust.
have to be an onion. You have to be an onion.
So you automatically, like, I don't know if undefend yourself is the word, but you do the opposite. You're not guarded at
Vulnerable.
that moment.
Vulnerable.
You
The
try
word.
to feel vulnerable with the select few
Exactly.
Correct.
that you've chosen.
Because you feel secured.
Exactly. Because I
Because
feel
you feel
secured with
secure.
that person.
Correct.
And that is where I typically operate out of a vulnerable state, that I know he knows everything about me. I know he can kick my butt blue and black, but I will still give him that power, because that's where the trust part also typically comes in.
Hmm.
And it's pretty deep rooted also. So initially, I mean, when you actually are operating out of a place of hate, or perhaps you're not really secured with yourself to a certain extent, you start hating people in general. I mean, forget men, brothers,
I think it's
sisters,
a constant
friends.
process.
Exactly.
It's a constant process. So when you are a child, right?
Hmm.
Whatever you have been taught, whatever surroundings or whatever जो छोटे छोटे संस्कार जिसे कहते हैं, right? So I mean, you don't assume things,
Hmm.
right? And then there is a phase where you realize that, oh my god, whatever I was seeing, that was like a lie, and dunya alag hi hai and whatnot.
Yeah.
Then you start the phase of the negativity, blaming everybody, and and then you realize, oh, okay, I need to first accept what is going on, what am I what I have become.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now I don't want to be like this. I
Right.
don't want to blame anybody. And then you just move on and, start your new journey of it, kind of.
So it's
That's a
kind of
different
what I
phase.
was visualizing here is Maslow's need hierarchy
Mm-hmm.
triangle, right? I mean, you
Yeah.
start off with the basic needs, and the actual need is for self-actualization. So, I
Correct.
mean, sure, you might be assuming as a person while you're growing up and stuff like that, and you had certain, sort of divine intervention of sorts,
Mm.
wherein, this didn't work out for you, it blew up in your face, and then you're taking a negative spiral towards things, and only to realize later that, how dumb I was.
Correct.
But then,
That's a constant process. Some people
Exactly.
actually get there really quickly.
Yeah.
But some people, like, not even in a lifetime they could have gotten there.
So maybe I could put out a resource which one of our very close friends had defined that you can. So I mean, this is for all the listeners who are actually hiring managers as well.
Mhm.
You could actually categorize people into three major competencies as such. I mean, not competencies, three major scales, and maybe the x-axis you can keep as your x-axis you can keep as self. Pardon me. One was ego. Second one was self-awareness, and third was competency. I mean, competency is just for the corporate bit, but having just the first two, that is ego and self-awareness, you can actually create a chart
Mm.
and try and identify and bucket those people in it. I know that a 30-minute or an hour-long interview is not enough to sort of figure out if that person would be a good candidate. But in life, when you come across people, you have plentiful time in terms of bucketing a certain set of people in a certain set of ways.
Yeah.
So by that, I typically mean on the x-axis, you kept self awareness and ego. All right. On the y-axis, you keep high and low. As simple as that. So let's just try and plot one person who has a high ego but a high self-awareness, right?
Mm.
So that those typically would already have a very high and a high sort of a situation.
Self-esteem, self-confidence.
Correct. And those would be very good set of employees also to work along with, because they are aware of
These are leaders.
true. So they typically come from a place of confidence. Now you actually go in the opposite, the opposite of crazy to be crazy. Low self awareness and a low ego, those are still okay people to work with, if you see. Right?
Mhm.
Because I mean, the person isn't self-aware that he isn't, and sort of doesn't really have an ego. Also, if you
Correct. They
tell
have
him
the
something,
potential.
exactly.
They have the
So you can,
potential to go
Correct.
diagonally.
and the
Right.
beauty of it is people actually because people aren't measurable as emotions and their own neuron system, the most complex machine. They tend to change this in terms of the levels of their egos and self-awareness through the years.
Mm.
At times you need a jolt to say that, what the hell, I've been, sort of leading my life just with my eyes closed.
Mm.
And at times it is just self-realization that, this is where I was absolutely blinded and living my life closed. So I mean,
Yeah.
here that will help you to assume a bit lesser about a person, and you would definitely have, say, a certain parameter to identify that, how good or bad is that person that I can work with, or maybe say have something about.
Assumption also primarily comes out of lack of clarity.
Yeah.
Lack of
Mm.
clarity when you're not being given the clarity.
Right.
And the second one is the ability to seek clarification.
Yeah.
It comes when you've not been given clarity, so you've not bothered to ask. So when you do not have enough data on a particular scenario, people, you assume.
Right.
You have to assume. So it is basically, I'm shy
Hmm.
and I am not comfortable asking Viru about his personal life.
Yeah.
So what's better to do? Assume.
Fair. But then take responsibilities of your own assumptions is what I would typically recommend all the
No,
listeners.
see, these,
because-
so these are very dangerous things actually.
Right.
But whatever we are talking right now, it is more of a bookish thing which we have read, which we have actually.
No, you experience this daily.
No, you do experience them. So let's talk about what we experience daily. I mean,
What
how do you
experience
assume?
daily?
Yeah, how are you assuming things? If you ask me, how do I assume things?
Hmm.
When I get up in the morning, when Sarsha is also leaving. Okay, Sarsha happened to be my wife.
Happen.
She is my wife. So
Pranam bhabhi.
so when she gets up, so I assume and uh, ब्रेकफास्ट रेडी हो जाना चाहिए, ऐसा होता है इन डे टू डे के हम. पर ठीक है, मेरे को भी लगता है कि ठीक है, शी वाज लेट समवेयर, शी वाज गेटिंग लेट, शी लेफ्ट. अभी अज्यूम मैं वही बोल रहा हूँ ना कि माइंडसेट क्या होता है. इफ यू गेट अप विद सम इरिटेटेड माइंडसेट, you tend to get angry and you're like what, you know, it will be more of
the mood.
So assume without holding the other person responsible.
Take responsibility of your assumption.
Exactly. No, I'm not assuming. That's what I just the mindset. That
So
point of time.
when you're in the bed in the morning, you realize your wife is leaving, you assume the breakfast is ready. When you are ready to get up, you changed or whatnot, and you go to the kitchen only to find out that it is not. The breakfast not there. But that assumption does not make you feel more miserable. You do not start blaming your wife.
No, correct.
Correct. So it's a self-reflection that I assume. So it's not true. So what?
So what I day to day we assume. So let's talk about that. Like, what do you assume? I mean, if I'm assuming something more of like, okay, now I need to do this. I need to get this house. I need to do this. I need to do that. I assume things. You know, when you see the pictures, whenever you are browsing into something, okay, we'll have this. I assume this. And in terms of career also, okay, I assume, okay, within this 2 years, I'll be joining this company. These are all set of assumptions that we do. But that is only, you know, that point of time, your mindset. When you're fucked up in your mind and then you assume something stupid. It's all about the mindset, which I say when you assume and you don't assume. And what is lack of clarity? I mean, lack of clarity में हमको clarity किस चीज़ की रहती ही नहीं वैसे.
नहीं, वो so वही मैं बोल रहा था ना कि there are two reasons why you don't have clarity. Let's say you try to ask me something in 10 different ways to understand my logic better, and I restrict that access. So here you are left with nothing but to assume half the things that I didn't tell you because I am not willing to give you the clarity. This is first scenario. The second scenario is I'm trying to be as explicit as possible while doing the knowledge transfer, but you're fuck bothered because you think life is just another day to live and go by, right? And you literally don't pay attention and you start assuming because you are not only foolish to not seek clarity, but you are also kind of an introvert, a person who's not comfortable to look like a stupid person or someone who doesn't know. Correct.
Like we were talking about, So, I mean, basically, a clear communication channel reduces
you have to pursue. So, the ability to pursue your curiosity.
Yeah, I mean,
in a way,
the burden of the communication channel just doesn't lie within one person, right? I mean, you can't just be
but then you can eliminate as many as possible, right?
Correct.
I mean, that awareness you need to have. You cannot obviously win 100 situations, 100 scenarios. No, never. So, if you do, it's good. If you don't, then don't beat yourself up. But then the things that, so controllables can always be managed, right?
Right.
If I can set his expectations straight, why would I keep on avoiding it? And creating it a mess that every week he shows up to me disappointed. Like, why am I this? Why am I that? Where I could simply tell him, like, you know, this is how it's going to be.
Yeah.
This is the exposure you get to have with me. Set the expectations straight. So this is a tough job to do, right? A lot of people won't do this. A lot of people won't even choose this path.
Right.
And
yeah, ability to be curious. I just love and, you know, want to say that, you know, again, it circles back to your childhood, your, you know, your culture, surroundings and everything, right?
Yeah.
You are curious by nature. That's what I said. A child is always learning, right?
Yeah.
And curiosity is being killed in a surroundings where, you know, you're not allowed to, you know, think or try new things, right? ये मत करो, वो मत करो, ऐसा नहीं करना चाहिए, वैसा नहीं करना चाहिए. usse you just kill the curiosity.
So for those people with curiosity, aren't you guys curious about gravity? Try jumping out of on a stool. You know about it. So I mean, that's where kids also learn, right? I mean, they're
Correct.
falling down,
Correct.
and
But then again, we
These
came
are
here
not the type
from
of
clarity.
lessons that one seeks
exactly.
to
I mean,
make it
so
interesting. worthy,
assumption
you
that
know.
gravity is there. So I mean, I know it's a different can of worms altogether in terms of certain mindsets which are talking about gravity being there, not there, and whatever. So Earth is also not round. Or
So
Yeah,
if I
but-
say I'm a very curious person, doesn't mean that I'm curious about each and everything.
true, maybe
Ha,
things
but-
which matter.
and you know,
It's
with
just that I have
clarity-
developed the ability to be absolutely curious about something that is nagging me. That
but
I
when
cannot
you were a
recollect.
child, you were curious about everything,
Yep.
right? Everything. It starts with that.
Yep, I will
I
agree.
And
mean,
then
it could be-
you tunnel your vision,
because you are
right?
told to be within
Correct.
limits, right?
Exactly.
So your vision
But-
is also
But I'm
made
very
narrow.
sure Elon Musk and Bill Gates and every Steve Jobs. I mean, they were curious till till the end. Like they need to think about so many things,
Hmm.
right? They don't want to channelize themselves.
so their appetite to suffer loss is also very important parameter.
Correct.
So I have a lot of curiosity, but then seeing it through, I'll be very selective because every challenge poses a threat of failure,
Correct.
and I do not want to be seen as a failure. I do not want to fail publicly.
That's what, again, what I'm saying is this has been instilled in your mind that failure is bad.
Wrong
Failure is bad.
perception.
So if somebody had told you, no, it's okay to fail, right? You won't feel so bad after failure. So that's the conditioning what I'm talking about. So people think that education is very important and whatnot.
Yeah.
No, a conducive environment for a child is very important. In some or the other ways, may it be like only one person, not even the whole family or
Yeah,
friends,
true,
anything,
true. I
just
mean-
one person.
Yeah.
That helps your curiosity because it have not been killed.
And you still have that faith or a belief that I mean, that I guess, for lack of better words, even hope that
Correct.
you
And
things
this is
are going
all
to be better.
this is all scientific,
Hmm.
whatever I'm talking about, right? So why the first 5 years of a child's life are
Hmm.
very important. Why? Because that's the most curious a person can get that particular time.
Right.
People say that, I mean, there has been like a scientific I don't know, study or something. In the first 3 years of a child, you can teach them 6 languages. 6 languages.
Wow.
And just 3 years. जब बच्चा शायद बोलना भी just शुरू करता है, वो vocabulary तो भूल जा. I mean,
I get it. So maybe you start filling up your each and every single.
These are like quality babies.
No.
no,
No.
Not everyone gets such an environment where you can.
environment. That's what I'm
So
talking
it's
about.
very
It all comes
difficult.
up to
And now-
the assumptions are
then
coming up
it-
from your biases.
Then a certain light
Hmm.
also needs to be shed over, like, thinking of marriage and producing a child as a privilege. Or, I don't know, as a birthright.
Again, that's what I'm saying. If you see your role models or anybody, right? If you see that they are assuming bad things, negative things about people, you also learn to do that.
But then I believe gradually one develops their own mind.
Yeah.
After getting a lot of shocks, to be very honest, to change this belief
Learning it the
system,
hard way.
It's difficult.
uh, to change the belief system, you have to have those strokes in life, like literally a heart attack kind of situation where you cannot even
Yeah.
breathe.
A sucker punch
Yes.
to the nuts.
Yes. You need to just reboot your system that time, right?
Hmm.
That give, and those are the hard times. So basically, what you do is basically you nullify your belief system,
Right.
right? With that jolt. Because अभी तक तो मैं जो सोच रही थी वो तो सब गलत हो रहा है, उसकी वजह से गलत हुआ. Now I'll just reboot it.
And how
And
do
then
we
the
reboot?
after the reboot, if you still go back to that particular mindset, you will again, come in the circle
You'll reap the same
repeat.
results.
the loop will be on.
Every mind works not necessarily, you have to channelize it, or you have to be like, okay, you need to get good shocks, or every mind needs to be curious. No, it functions differently. Every brain is different. I would say like,
I anatomy of it, I agree. I mean, there are some certain disorders as well with the
Yeah.
wiring and everything, right? I mean, those are all wired. If you see, basically your brain is like a billion connections, right?
Yep.
It's just the wiring that differs in different people. But 80% of the wiring is same.
I would still second that. I mean, I won't second that because
When you are born, I'm not talking about genetic
we
things.
talk about wiring, we talk about the brain, but it at the end of the day, what Abhishek said, environment. It completes with your environment only, because when
That's
your
exactly what
environment,
Pallavi has been saying, right? I mean,
no. Yeah, in
that will be
terms-
shaping up your
in
each and
terms,
every
yes.
neuron. That
No,
too.
likewise, you said like 3 years, you can teach different languages. Yeah, that can be done. But the people who are teaching their kids 3 languages, they had good exposure of things in their life.
No, this should not be an excuse, especially when you're a parent, man.
No.
I mean, you cannot say like I came from a very backward mentality. No, fucker, you should change your attitude, right?
Exactly, because
When-
you were
when
suffering. You
you-
shouldn't let the other
You
generation
learned
suffer.
that you need a kid before you learned that you need to be a good person.
No.
Like, so shitty human beings, right? I don't know if even calling them shitty makes sense. Because
Right.
people don't even realize, man. I mean,
People stop
parenting
realizing.
is the most casual
Oh,
profession. That's what I see. It's
So
the most, people pursue it casually. Mood bana lete hain parent banne ka.
exactly. So for
And
this,
the
on
struggle is real. Your finances are not sorted,
exactly.
right?
Finances are the
people should
later of
get-
your issues. Are you sorted as a person?
Something should scare you at least.
But
People
Abhishek,
should
again,
give exams before they could be
I'm
conceived.
just
They can
waiting
conceive.
for the day that I'm in power and
But now even no. See, now if you see people, the lower section of the societies, these people, they would be having a 10 by 10 room or even smaller than that. Their salary will be something negligible to what we spend, basically. Very less salary, but still they have kids. I mean, it is completely
yeah, because they don't care what
Yeah,
they
they
are
don't
going
care,
to be
yeah.
depriving their child of.
Parenting सबसे
Yeah.
सस्ता ये
Because
ये
see,
सबसे
I'll
सस्ती
tell you,
नौकरी
if the kid is crying, right? I feel it is my utmost duty to amuse the kid in a manner which does not require beating.
wow.
Right.
It is your lack of ability, empathy towards that kid
yes.
Patience.
that makes you feel that let's hit this kid. If they did something wrong, you lack the inquisitiveness to even understand what prompted your kid to do this.
Because
Something
you
idiotic.
stop thinking. You were relying upon whatever you
So you
were
didn't respond to the situation, you reacted. As simple as that.
Correct. So, I mean, this is something like one cannot overlook. And just imagine, and you beating your kid, and let's say in therapy or somewhere in police station that you are asked, why do you hit your kid?
Yeah.
And like a poor old fucker, I mean, may death come to such people who will then say, despite being that old, that's all I know. I grew up around such things. Why should I be different?
Exactly. So why not put a stop
ये
to
तो
it?
बदला हो गया ना. It's
Yeah.
like revenge mentality.
I'm not saying that. My point
So
is
they have kids and they sleep a relatively peaceful sleep than most of us.
Yeah.
Because boss, why do we lack great sleep? Because ambition comes at a cost,
correct.
right?
No, I'm just, my point is, why, see, even they would be having some
So
of the little.
if you feel that you have a need to, have a kid, just because I have a rickshawala who's my neighbor and has 3 kids.
Yeah.
With
No,
an
you don't
average
see
monthly
that, no?
income of 15K.
So we are not
That should not give you,
So-
them making kids just should not give you courage.
No, we are not,
to
we are
have
not
your own.
comparing. We are not comparing. What I mean to say is, when they live in such a condition, they would have a little bit of, curiosity or to achieve
Absolutely,
something,
to seek
little bit of
clarity,
ambitions.
to do something which you, because again, laziness is also a very beautiful drug, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the extent to which I have avoided things.
Yeah.
I
We call
Till
it
this
the
day
art of
tried.
doing nothing.
yeah.
Doing nothing. I mean, doing nothing is going to give you definitely something. So everything comes with a cost, is what you were, sort of trying to actually put. So, I mean, sure, Nick, I totally agree to you when you say that, they have that particular conducive, maybe a not so conducive environment, but what are you going to do about it? Is what it will matter, right? So, like you were trying to say that, everyone has dreams, hopes, and everything. But are you aware that, it needs some work to be put in, right? You can't just live your life with your eyes closed, but at the same time, at times, certain things don't really require putting in your 100% attention. But yes, you should sort of put in some work. So by that I mean, in terms of attention, I simply mean that, assuming things about something. So the work that you put in is probably communicate with someone, or maybe say identify key calculation parameters as such, that you can measure certain things, and that's where you actually backward calculate and be responding to a situation and not reacting to it also, that my past has been bad, but then what are you actually thinking of doing about it? Instead of blaming, say, the necessary other person, or your family members, or your environment, or say anything for that matter, no?
You're
You
not
can
blaming anyone, but your past is still attached to your brains, right?
I mean, it's going to be
And
always a part of you.
Whatever changes
yeah.
that you're doing, right? Whatever you're achieved or whatever you're achieving,
Yeah.
maybe it is definitely more than people like your parents or their parents did.
Yeah.
You're doing more. On that, your childhood was completely fucked up. As that, it is fucked up because you think it is fucked up.
Yeah.
Okay. The way your parents treated you,
Yeah.
the way the parents basically, you wanted to do something and they were like, with some other reason, because that point of time, even your brain is not that evolved, wherein you can think rather, is this correct or is this not correct?
Exactly. And
Yeah.
how do you define evolve?
Yeah.
How do you define evolved, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, evolved is something which, again, I've mentioned this, but train your brain, kind of. And first and foremost, your parents will be training your brain, right? To handle certain situations, or they can like take up their kids to a vegetable shop, and then ask them to pick up the tomatoes, right?
Showing
What is
them.
right for you, what is wrong for them. So basically, you need to train your child's mind,
Yeah.
and that is how your brain will evolve.
So putting a child in a conducive environment mindfully, and just happening to be the child in that conducive environment because you couldn't do anything about it. For example, that I am super rich, but I teach my children the value of money.
Correct.
By saying that I withhold a few things, or maybe put him in an environment where he needs to thrive, and stuff like that. But now on the flip side, I actually don't have money. Now the child by default has to go through that phase of thriving, because the last one of the podcasts we were talking about hard times make stronger men and stronger individuals. So I'm kind of trying to correlate it to that. I mean, I don't think that should be a place where, I mean, I know it is going to be still, but I hope that is not the place where people typically learn from. It is kind of a bit difficult. But hey, like Varun, if you're listening, I mean, life is happening. I mean, deal with it. It's going to be difficult. Deal with it. So that's how I guess. I mean, that's perfectly where we started off the podcast also, right? Not the episode, but the podcast itself. That I mean, we're trying to promote people to sort of self-reflect here and take actions in life. Assuming, sure, but a calculated assumption is still going to be way better than just keeping your eyes closed and assuming and expecting things to come and fall on your lap. That is not how it happens. You need to sort of, at least, if nothing, try to work in that direction, or no, if not that, at least be a bit abundant in a particular setting. For instance, you can, I mean, today again, we were discussing with Pankaj, what I self-reflected upon this conversation when he said that, paying an X amount at this co-working place where he works is giving him the connections. But then I thought that had Pankaj from school had been in that environment at that age, that he was so introverted that he wouldn't step out and have that conversation with anyone, let alone paying top money for it. That still wouldn't have been useful for him, right? I mean, what sort of a mindset is he in? And he's so abundant that he's saying that, irrespective, I pay X amount. If I meet people, I don't meet people. I am not, sort of a result bound by it, but I'm going to enjoy speaking to people. And that's where he actually made very good set of his current connections, where he's multiple sources of income is where he's being able to keep himself into. So not that there aren't others at that workspace, right? I mean, Pankaj as an individual has come from a certain set understanding, and then he's playing in that or thriving in that environment. So as a child or as an elder, the world is actually going to be an environment for you to thrive into. Now, what do you make out of it? What do you learn out of it? And how much do you take responsibility of everything around you is what typically would matter. So that is where the initial second episode, right, about integrity comes into picture. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's how we've kind of tried to establish assumption. But then again, if I have to see assumptions, I've seen that to be more with people and less with say numbers or maybe say certain said things, right? So whenever you're sort of having a business also which is open, that typically will have an element of trusting or assuming about people also, and it will also have an element where you're calculated, certain risk and then certain cushions that you can really afford. That perhaps this person doesn't really work out. No love lost. I maybe I've appropriated funds for X particular amount of his salary any which ways, and this is the ROI which I'm kind of thinking about. And this is the typical ROI from the experience of others in my competitors, how individuals at certain levels in an organization have typically performed. But the assumption, the way I see it, is more with a subjective approach, right? Because like you said, AB, there are things which are beyond your control. I mean, these things you can't even measure, and it will just happen. So trying to sort of fixate yourself onto things that you can control and sort of lead your life through that particular standpoint, I think that's going to be much more easier, the way I see it. And a few places you actually would want to let go, even if you're assuming and even if you've calculated, because at times you'd never know what is going to happen, because there is still that small little element of luck in that play, right? So for instance, we met someone who was into plastic and stuff like that. He was into 3D printing. He started off with selling drone parts, and during COVID, he was able to sell around 15,000 units of certain ventilators. So at that time, you remember how expensive that was. Not the fact that you're making money out of people's death as such, but it was very integral to be able to give out those ventilators, right? And he was able to make that at his own home in his own 3D printer, and he sold that. So certainly there would be certain fixed cost. Maybe I don't know how much profit he would have put in. And again, keeping a profit in that is not wrong, because he's, as an organization, growing also, right? So he'll be able to afford maybe one more machine to be able to supply to this. So maybe you want to look at it from a standpoint of a growing organization. So that's where I was like, hash respect. I mean, he played the right thing at the right time, and he was abundant in that situation. So maybe a few things as a resource or a takeaway, which I would sort of urge my listeners and our listeners to sort of reflect upon, that assumptions are good or bad is not the conversation out here. You're trying to say that how can you actually be aware of your life, how it is happening, and lead with it the way it is happening, and then life is absolutely beautiful. I remember I had a phase in my life when people used to ask me, "Hey, how's life? Life AJ sucks." I mean, I found that term to be very funny. That's why I used to use it. But then the more you actually, sort of continuously speak about it, that's how it starts manifesting, because that was kind of a very type of a phase in my life. And probably that is the time when I hit the bottom low also for me. Maybe I was manifesting it way too hard. Exactly. And that's when I had a very huge epiphany that, hey, what the hell am I doing? So after that, people, when they ask me, hey, how are you? Hot and sexy as usual. Conversations have changed. My demeanor as a person has changed. My overall belief system in myself has reinstated and become more stronger. So be aware of what is happening. Even the words that you're speaking, that do sort of tend to create an impact not just on the other person but on yourself also. So maybe being aware of what's happening inside of you will be very key, the way I see it. But to err is human. Every human is going to assume it is still going to be a thing. But having a self realization about things and being self aware and absolutely being in open communication with the other person, that this is happening with me, not coming from a place of any malice or anything to sort of hurt the other person, but tell him or her that this is what is happening to me, and I just wanted to sort of share it with you.
Yeah, because then you come from a place of truth.
Exactly. You're not coming
because you're living your own truth. You have accepted your own truth. You are not in denial anymore.
True.
And I mean, truth. It's plain and simple truth, and you are accepting it.
Exactly.
And then, if you are accepting it, people will eventually do that.
Now that is where I was coming to a very, very huge can of worms: the narcissistic capabilities of individuals, right? Wherein they try to feed off others' problem just so that they can probably have that self validation, or perhaps that one-upness, that what, hey, I am more powerful than the other person.
Yeah, exactly, because they are not that evolved. That's what I'm saying. So again, I said, just to repeat that, phase 1, where you are totally naive, you are having your experiences and whatnot,
right.
You are learning from your surroundings. Phase 2, of course, when you start to question everything, you blame others, right? Why is this happening to me and whatnot, right? Then again, when you get the shock and the jolt, you go to phase 3. Phase 3 is again assuming, plus whatever you had, your experience and your learnings, right? And on the basis of that, you have attained empathy, right?
Empathy or a narcissistic behavior. It can be either way, right?
Now, the empathy now depends upon the quantity and the, even possibility of having it. Depends upon how much was your learning. And
maybe how much how you actually responded to your learning also, because you've learned a particular statement, but the way you comprehend isn't necessarily how Nick will comprehend the same thing.
Okay, right now learning, what I'm saying is learning, and then act accordingly.
Agreed.
Act, and on the basis of that, your actions will speak.
True,
then.
but the actions can still go two ways, right? I can either become a self-centered narcissist, or perhaps an empath.
Correct.
And it's
and
always,
that is your choice.
Correct. So that comes from not just a choice, but your actual response to that particular trauma or a particular jolt, if you may.
Correct.
We're very on the same page, but there's something which I actually sort of believe more into, is every human has both these sides, right? I mean, at certain places, the human very conveniently will become a narcissist, wherein he will or she will think more about self-preservation, self-protection. I won't call this narcissism, but as a very common understanding that if something burning hot is there, you shouldn't touch it. It is as simple as that. I mean, that's kind of a law that it's going to burn you for sure. You know the outcome, how it is going to be. But I mean, now you look at it from an angle that in the first episode we were talking about, say, the dark side of an individual and the light side, right? I mean, you can't walk through hell with a halo on your head, right? I mean, to certain situations, it does demand your narcissistic behavior in terms of self-protection or protection of the loved ones that you have. And that typically isn't necessarily bad the way I see it. But let me still say that being an empath also at all times is still going to be a problem to your own emotional reservoir, right? Because it is going to take a lot away from you if that empathy didn't really work in your favor. So
that will happen.
Exactly. So in this particular situation, what I say is you simply just embrace both these sides, right? You say that, I am definitely an empath. I think about others and I think from the others' perspective also. But I am also a narcissist because I am a human and it is built in me in terms of self-preservation also.
Correct. And as you evolve, you will actually come to know that, in which situations you need to be narcissistic the other side, right?
That mechanism automatically comes into picture, but then you still need to embrace that side, right?
Correct. I mean, that's like human side, right?
Exactly. It is
but
not
then you will be lot more happier when you are towards this side of things, right? Assuming plus being having empathy, right? You will be lot happier because again,
not necessarily, I would say.
So I mean, in a narcissistic situation, right? Okay. Where you have to be a narcissist, right? Do you feel secured?
No.
Right? But in this situation, the other situation, empathy, you feel secured.
At times you still don't, because I mean, a classic relationship, usually, I mean, that's what people say, is looking like a narcissist attracting an empath, right? So someone is feeling way self-empowered and someone is feeling way self-doubting, right? Because again, there is no sense of security in both these situations. An opposite of crazy is still going to be a crazy. But what I'm trying to say here is you need to try and find that balance in both these situations, even when you're in a particular, say, certain set relationship. Because there will be someone who will be actually trying to feed upon you and say, you know what, because of you, this is happening, because of that, this is happening, and you're the biggest problem. And you actually get into a self-doubt sort of an analysis. But if you see things for what it is, I mean, even try and understand where that person is coming from. Because you've realized that particular power in you that, I typically understand how I operate in a particular situation in a particular way. By that I mean, if I am in say a very attacking mode where someone is actually trying to attack me, I will definitely go in for a defense as such, or maybe attack back. So
correct. That's your defense mechanism. Being 100%. Narcissistic is your defense mechanism.
Could be, but then it tends to overpower. Either one of it tends to overpower.
That's okay.
Actually,
you
imbalance.
Need to protect your thought process as well, right?
Correct. It will.
So you act according to the situation.
Correct.
You go like, I would say assumption is just a random thought. It's so random. It's so naive. It's so vague. Basically, for example, we are sitting in a living room.
Yep.
Both of us. Suddenly you go inside. Maybe you are having a nature's call, or you wanted to speak to someone in your phone, or whatever it could be. The first time, Virat washroom gaya hoga. That's a random thought. It is not showing any happiness anywhere, neither my aspirations anywhere or dream anywhere. It's just a random thought, and we can't stop having a random thoughts, right?
So you actually identify a random thought as a random thought is what I'm asking you to do. You just don't try to add more meaning to it and start giving it more power.
Correct.
Because he might be out there and doing something nice and muh kala karwa raha hoga, whatever.
That's the state of mind. If I am, if I have made an image in my mind whatever image of yours in your mind, and then
Yeah.
I'm sitting with you. Definitely at that moment of time, that random thought will be like, "Ha, Virat ye kar raha hoga," which can be positive, it can be negative, based
Correct.
on the image that I have actually
Correct.
created in my brain.
Correct.
Correct.
That is on the basis of your bias.
And
Right?
your
On your
sense
past
of security,
relationship.
I wouldn't say that
self-security
is on the
also.
basis of being biased or assumption.
Correct.
Any stupid, bad, good, bad assumption. I would say that.
But then the assumption has still that basis, right? I mean, it is coming either from an insecure standpoint saying that, what if he's doing this, what if he's doing that, or maybe a very secure standpoint. Okay, he might be doing whatever. He's still going to come back in and we're still going to do whatever we're supposed to. So that's where how these assumptions are very, very trickily playing. Because you actually aren't very attached to that assumption. This is what I'm trying
Correct,
to sort
yeah.
of bring out.
Even
here.
though your thoughts, thoughts shouldn't overpower your rational brain, right? So basically, you have to be rational all the time, and to develop that, of course, because it's said like primal instinct is basically you need food, you need sleep, and everything else.
Yeah.
Then you develop your rational brain.
Mm.
So where to be really really serious about stuff, and then where
Yeah.
you let go of things, and then you're rational. It all depends upon what how Virat said, right? How do you empower that thought?
Right.
If it is
And-
a good thought, of course, empower
and,
it.
And
All the love
let
to
me
it.
add one more layer to this. Now, usually, like we will again circle back to the same conversation that your environment will, sort of create a mindset, and that is where you'll typically assume about things. Now, let's just say that there was an environment created by this son of a gun who actually went out and was promiscuous, right? And the other significant other actually caught him. So, would you say that the assumption at that particular moment is valid for that person?
Valid as in that.
That he's out there and doing something instead of feeling secured, right? Because to a certain extent, there was a trust which was built, right? So let's just say this son of a gun was in a very kind of a secured sort of a position with this significant other of his, but went out, became promiscuous. The lady catches him, and now her assumption that whenever he's going out, he's going to be, acting out of his whatever need, or
Yeah, she'll probably always be insecure.
she
Yeah,
will always be
She
insecure in
will
this particular
obviously,
example. So to certain extent, there is going to be certain environment which is going to make her feel off her balance, right? There are going to be a lot of smaller traumas or larger traumas, if you
Yeah.
may, which is going to actually lead you to think that perhaps this is not a very secured position that I am in.
So she
Now-
might be thinking all men are dogs.
Correct. So now the
And,
hatred and those
exactly.
everything.
The whole shenanigan, the whole spiral
Absolutely.
kicks in. Yeah. And that will happen like for a very very long time till that the person gets again a shock to
Correct.
change the
To
belief
realize
system.
that,
Correct.
I can be secured within myself. I don't allow anyone else the core of my happiness.
locus of so my brother says this, the locus of your happiness should
Hmm.
always be with you.
100%.
Yeah.
I
And-
want him on one of the podcasts. Just saying, Shanda.
How old is he?
He's 4 years older than me.
Alright.
Okay, so a very secured and a safety mechanism because we're not asking ages here. But yeah, so
Yeah, and he says, he makes a flow chart
Yeah.
always, and he says, there is a situation.
Yeah.
What can you do about it?
right,
There can be two. Can you do something about it? So there can be like one arrow saying yes,
Mm.
another saying no. Right?
yeah,
Yes, then do something about it and change the situation.
right,
And if the answer is no,
Mm.
why worry?
okay,
That's it. Why worry? You cannot control that, right?
correct. So he's actually, visualizing the objectivity in that situation.
Exactly. So,
Right.
so you need to first say, okay, can you do something about it? Yes.
Hmm.
I'll,
So
I'll
why don't
try
you do
my
something
best.
about it?
Correct. And then after doing something about it,
Hmm.
if the answer is still yes, you will perceive it.
Hmm.
If no, then why worry?
Correct.
Just move on to another thing, right?
Correct. That's where you need to actually hold yourself and say, hey, what the hell am I actually doing here?
Right. And this has helped me a lot
True.
in my life.
True. Me too.
So, but this you learn it the hard way.
Yeah, I mean, certain things actually cannot be taught also in classrooms. I mean,
Correct.
these
Correct. Correct.
are the life is teaching you. I mean, the classroom is the word.
This is like a
Yeah.
simple flow chart.
Correct.
Like we in technology use a lot of it.
Yeah. So now when we talk about flowchart also,
Hmm.
so anything, consider an example of an arrow.
Right.
Okay. So arrow is like always going forward.
Yeah.
Always going forward.
Hmm.
But that now we can also differentiate with different kind of arrows. There are
Hmm.
some which wants to kill, definitely it will go forward. It won't
Hmm.
retaliate back.
Yeah.
But in life, I think we need to have a two-way arrow.
Okay.
In flowchart, we have two-way arrow.
Okay.
Like Wesley said, if yes, what? If
Hmm.
no, let's go back to the original position and let's decide. Again, if it is yes, let's proceed. If no, it should be like uh, there's a good purpose of having one-way arrow also, because
Hmm.
that point of time you stop over there.
Correct.
Yeah.
You realize very quickly
Yeah.
that this won't work out.
But
Correct.
there are situations where it has to be a two-way arrow. You
Hmm.
need to go back to the starting point again, decide.
Hmm.
If yes, let's do this. If no, then let's do this. But
Yeah,
at one
but an
point of
example
time,
would be
at
career
one-
change.
at one point of time, it will be a single-sided arrow. And this is
Hmm.
the end finish.
Once you have gotten to that point, then it is all single-sided arrows.
Yeah.
So once and you are in that phase of figuring things out, right? I get it. Then the loop will work.
Hmm.
But then you have to switch to the the other flow chart that it always goes one way.
Yeah.
I see.
No, so the two most efficient things in the world. I mean, this is what I have identified. The most efficient things in the world. One is time. Second is death. I mean, nothing I have seen can stop time for sure. I mean, conversations with people do at times. They make the time run faster. Maybe you're just not aware of it. But in actual measurement, time and death. These are two things which are going to be very, very, very efficient. So the time is still going to clock. You are already alive. Now what are you going to do about this? Is what you're going to sort of receive as such. And every human being knows for a fact that everyone is going to die. Right? I mean, let's just be honest. You can't just be here. Even if you think that there is going to be a cyborg sort of a combination, and you'll be your heart and your brains would be put in a machine. I got news for you. You still are not going to be this individual, right? I mean, you're going to be a heart and brain in a machine as such. So death again is going to be so damn efficient here. And what are you going to do about it again will matter. Are you going to say that, hey, everything is going to die any which way. Why the hell do I live? So you already are dead, right? I mean, in your head, you're dead and you're resigned and you're not doing anything about it. But you say that, what, my life, how much ever I lead is going to be full of love, passion, and things which actually freaking matter to me, my goals. Wow, that's a place where you want to be. So, I mean, are you going to battle it? Because this is reality. I mean, it's going to happen anyway, right? Or are you going to actually lead a life which you want to do? I mean, the choice absolutely is yours. You can sit and assume 10,000 things that you want to. But then again, what sort of a thing are you going to pick up in terms of your actions, in terms of how you derive things out of it? Or,
It's all about happiness and peace of mind, actually.
I mean, sure, I would say that, but certain people find happiness through a particular way, right?
Correct.
So, I mean, you can't just put that same template that, you should do X, Y, Z. This will bring you happiness.
Correct.
Perhaps that XYZ doesn't bring that person a happiness because maybe his innate purpose that he or she has identified is something else altogether.
Yeah. So everyone have a different set of goals. The goals that you are having, or
True.
purpose basically. Purpose is the word.
Correct.
My purpose in my life is more of, my assumptions, if you say, or my assumption basically thinking about my purpose. My purpose in life is like, okay, I need to live here. I need to live this kind of life. I need
Right.
to have this kind of people around me.
Right.
In my old days, I would be having this kind of friends who are there till
Right.
my large brother, their large brother, we are with each other. This
Yep.
is the world which I have created for myself.
Correct.
So that is my purpose.
Okay.
Purpose in the sense, I need to have a good life.
That's your purpose.
Yeah, good
You
life in the
want to
sense.
have a
So
good
now,
life.
now for people, there are many people, for them, good life is more money,
Hmm.
more luxury.
Yeah.
10 times of the amount which anyone could have. That is
Correct.
the luxury one. Secondly, luxury cars.
Yeah.
For them, that is the happiness.
Yep.
And how do we decide our happiness? Based on our current situation, what we are doing,
Hmm.
we decide our happiness.
हाँ अगर ये हो जाता तो अच्छा होता.
So again,
अच्छा
then we
होगा,
come
मैं
to
खुश हो जाऊंगा.
Yeah.
hope and assumptions again.
Hmm.
Hope in the sense, हाँ ऐसा होता तो ये आगे जाके ऐसा होगा मेरे साथ.
Right.
I think
Assumption.
there's a fine line between things that you want to be happy with and the
Okay.
things that actually make you happy.
Make you happy, yes.
Yeah.
I honestly do not actively realize, because I haven't had that conversation yet, to
Hmm.
notice the things that make me happy.
Hmm.
My journey so far, to an extent, a greater one,
Hmm.
has been pursuing things that I know will make me happy,
Yeah.
that I can easily learn to live comfortably with absolute happiness. But in that pursuit,
Right.
massively overlooked on the things that actually make me happy.
So
And
this is
their
perceived
effectiveness has also reduced. Now, if someone who's been with me for a very long period of time could say, like, this was something that you used to get excited
Correct.
by, and now I don't have the same feeling.
Yeah.
Right.
So I give you one very good example
Hmm.
about Abhishek itself.
Okay.
So Abhishek, one point of time when we were in college,
Hmm.
he used to get excited. Okay, Abhishek आज इधर ये करना है. Okay, ठीक है. That point of time we never had money.
Hmm.
We had only 2 cell phones in our whole college. One was mine, other was his. So the whole college.
So already you were rich in your tribe.
Yeah, he was. He had Note that point of time.
No, not.
What-
I mean,
what-
I was
what do you call
talking more figuratively.
हाँ.
Yeah.
So that point of time he used to get excited.
Hmm.
And secret thing, किसी लड़की का नंबर अगर मांगना हो, हाँ मैं को दे दे नंबर. Just kidding. किसी भी मतलब just give
वो
you very.
वो है ना कि मैं फीलिंग्स डेवलप कर सकता हूँ.
So बस लड़की का बस नाम बता दो, I'll develop feeling for her. So that was a phase. We everyone go through that phase.
So I
And
I
that
remember
even,
a few things also. Yeah. Go on.
even that point of time, Abhishek used to, he used to be ready, but at one point of time he used to be like he used to take a step backward.
Yeah.
Right now he can do everything.
Right.
So what I always fight with him about is,
Hmm.
at one point of time you imagine that we would do this.
Right.
Yeah, I would do this.
Right.
I have this aspirations. I have this
Yep.
dream. I want to do this.
Yep.
But right now, when you are into a position where you can do it,
Yeah.
then when will you do it?
or you are already doing it maybe. Yeah.
Hmm.
No. See, see. That is again an assumption. Why would I assume he's already doing it? Maybe he would be doing it, but that is a fair assumption. Basically, I assume okay that point of time because we create an image for that person in our lives.
Yeah.
Okay, so I created an image back then when we were together, when we are still together, basically.
Yeah.
Like when we used to study together.
Yeah.
And graduation times when he used to work and I used to study. That point
Yeah.
of time. After that, also when I started working, he started working. Things that point of time were limited. Okay.
Right. Resources.
And
you
resources
mean,
were very limited. Sometimes, some days I was having it. Some days he was having it. Some days, there were times when we both were not having it.
Correct.
Those were the days. So that point of time, we always imagined or assumed, I would say, that okay, after this point of time, when we do this, when we'll be having this much,
Right.
we'll be doing all these things. What is happening now? What I'm trying to say is, our need never stops.
Yeah.
Our need never stops. Now, see, we started together, me and Abhishek, we are doing things, he's doing good, even I'm doing good.
Yep.
Now, his need in life is completely different.
Correct.
My need in life is completely different.
Correct.
We both are running toward it. Okay, I want this, I want this. Abhishek has some different set of needs or aspirations.
Correct.
Basically.
So
I
he
want this.
attaches his set of happiness to something, and
Yeah,
you attach your set
Exactly.
of.
But
Agreed.
what I expect,
Hmm.
again, expectations, I would say,
Yeah,
what we
yeah.
expect for someone we love. What I expect more over here is, one point of time when we didn't have anything,
Hmm.
we were dreaming of this.
Hmm.
Right now, when we are having it, why are we dreaming for something else?
Sure, but what happens is, right, I mean, life actually is happening, and that typically teaches you ways to stop reduce your imagination and try and focus and channelize all your energies into something. And I mean, sure, that maybe is a product of your growth as an individual or as a person on its own. So let me sort of take an example, because while you were speaking, this is what I was reflecting upon. Uh, a very, very simple discussion when I was having with Pallavi today as to how we both met. He used to sit at RD while I was in college, first year, second year. Agreed?
Yeah.
We were in the same environment.
Correct.
Agreed?
Mutuals.
Still never spoke to each other. Okay? Then Pankaj takes me to the place where Abhishek is working for an interview. Pankaj doesn't get selected. No problem, bro. You're doing way better than what you would have been. But okay. Coming back, Pankaj doesn't get selected. I get selected. And who sits right next to me? Abhishek. Right next to me. There is no wall, nothing. I can actually sense the intensity with which he is working, and I am getting inspired. Oh, damn, I need a typing speed as him. Still, we aren't really talking. Maybe we would have asked for a lighter at that point of time. That was the only conversation which we might have had, right? Because I would correlate to him as the big daddy, the big guns in that organization. You don't mess with the auditor. As simple as that. He was at that level. Then, when he actually stepped out of his own environment and he actually kind of resurrected his overall being, right? I mean, he started off more humbler than what he used to be. And that's where conversation started happening. All right. So he showed his own passions. I showed my own passions. And that's where we sort of started correlating onto things. Then gradually with time, certain things became more stronger, that in terms of being loyal or being, sort of not faithful per se, but being in the best interest of the other person also. So which is what started growing as an individual. So typically what I'm trying to put here for all the listeners is basically a template which happens when you're actually becoming friends with someone. Because we talk about all the good chemicals which come in when you are actually in a sort of trying to court some woman into a relationship, right? But even when you're actually trying to become friends with someone, there are certain things which are beyond explanation, right? I mean, you would say that he was such a passionate guy about X thing, and that is where we became friends and stuff like that. And now he isn't. But are you loving him lesser? That is the question which I'm trying to ask you guys, right? Because now you say that, we choose our friends over our family, right? I mean, families are given to us as individuals, but you have chosen certain set of people now. And now, are you stuck with them out of obligation? No. You are actually showcasing those things. I mean, loyalty. Did you ever ask me to be loyal to you and stuff like that? Don't speak. But it just comes out, right? I mean, you don't really actually have to sort of put in that work towards it. Yaar, nahi yaar, iske liye apan aisa karna chahiye and ye.
So I believe what happens is, when you know you're going to be there for a prolonged duration, then either you be with that person because you are absolutely loyal, or you just pry away.
No, so that's perfect. I mean, I'm totally in agreement with that. But what I am trying to still say is ki, you are going to come across a lot of people in life. Maybe you'll be liking them, you would be hating them for who they are or who they are not. But you need to identify what works for you. So I can't really put a magical number to it saying that, you do X, Y, Z and you'll find the best friend in your life and stuff like that. You'll still come across a few set of people who will actually impress you in ways, and how much of an energy you want to give him or her completely lies upon you, right? As a typical individual. So in this particular situation, perhaps the dreams and goals of your friend has led to another direction and yours have led to another direction. If it coincides again, amazing. If it doesn't, still amazing. We're still going to be friends. That's the level at which you need to sort of try and be at, right? I mean, assumptions are out of the window. Expectations are out of the window. You know that you're going to be with this brother of yours who's been made for life. I mean, even if that person shifts to, say, a different country and becomes a billionaire and a trillionaire, zillionaire, whoever, as a true friend, he's going to somewhere show up at your daughter's wedding. As simple as that. So you know how those things work. It is beyond explanation. Then whenever you try to put a a worldly template of how the media is trying to say that, you know what, ये अमीर बन गया तो अभी इसको बहुत problem है and he has attitude issues and he has money going into his head, then I mean, I got news for you. You guys are actually, you know, sabotaging a very good friendship of yours. As simple as that. So seeing for what it is, if you can communicate with your friend as such or your significant other as such, it is certainly going to help you as an individual. And there are powers at play which are beyond your control, and forget beyond your control, beyond your understanding. Right? Why it happens, you don't know. That's where I am at in terms of how humans are designed, right? Because there has to be something way more than just brain cells and stuff like that. There is a magical element to it, and life is going to be happening the way it is. So assuming, sure, but giving it the right power is going to actually help you. Sure, you want to actually pursue a particular dream with him. Have you spoken to him about it? That, you know, hey, you know what, we decided this at that time. You want to do it? Have that conversation. As simple as that. I'm just asking you to do that. Instead of assuming that, you know, he's actually given up on that idea. Have that conversation. Let him tell you that I've given up on that idea. Then you say, oh yeah, this is him. Now there is no, I'm not blaming you for anything. Hang on. Don't get defensive. I'm not attacking you.
What I am about to say is, after one point of time, what you actually do is, when you spend that time with that person,
Yeah.
you don't assume, because your mind functions in that way.
Now that's what I'm saying. That,
You know, it never assumes.
right, but
Even if he's doing
Hmm.
the things,
Hmm.
okay, he's doing something. I'm like, okay, fine. I don't want to.
but
assume.
if it is hurting you
Hmm.
in a way that, you know, why hasn't this happened, I would just say, just pick up the call and ask him, hey, क्यों नहीं हो रहा है रे? As simple as that. I mean, then you'll have a definitive answer, na? Ki, hey, yaar, Nick, I have X, Y, Z on my plate. I have this on my plate. So maybe I can appropriate this for it. Like, okay. So he was already thinking about it. So magic does happen in certain ways, but all you need is a plain and simple open set of communication. Don't assume what the other person is thinking. Speak it out. It's kind of easier. At times, with certain people, you need to actually understand how they are approaching also. Because words don't matter at that time. It is how they are approaching you. He might say, hey, you dog. And what do you understand out of it? Either he's calling you a cuss word or he's calling you a ladies' man. You get it, right? I mean, you can give two spins to it, right? So you need to identify where that person is coming from also. If he has or she has the best interest in your heart, no matter what that person tells you, even if it triggers, you need to actually identify, hey, I guess he's speaking for my benefit itself. So instead of getting scared or just attacking the other person, listen to that person, think, respond. As simple as that. And the biggest thing, I guess we can sort of try to bring that out, is that unspoken language, right? Men do not talk in those languages usually, right? It's the women who don't really mean what they say, because it is going to be on you to actually know that where are they coming from, and you need to kind of be aware also what is happening
I understand only what's being spoken.
now. So
I'm not in the business of reading signs. That is something that I have clearly, told. That is something. So basically, assuming,
Yeah.
like taking a hint of the indication that the other person is giving,
right,
the opposite sex, basically.
Yep.
So that is something which I have, rendered useless.
exactly.
I'm
So
not going to play that game. I'll be alone for a very long time, be that as it may.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to pay that price with a fucking smile on my face
Right.
every fucking day, knowing that I did not cave. Because honestly, you want me to assume, then my assumptions are
No,
beyond
no.
imagination.
No,
in a
hang on. So I'll stop you there, because here, when you're actually communicating with the other person, right? I mean, there aren't any assumptions.
No, I'm just saying,
No, not
how-
with words. Even by being an empath, to understand that where that person is coming from, right? You will certainly have a very clear communication. So, I mean, it won't be as if you are assuming.
No, I've not been with a partner for a very long time.
Exactly.
But then again, like
the language is
till
very
the,
easy.
till the time I was with them, not for a very long duration, but then there used to be a lot of provocation to assume, like something
Give me an
like
example.
anything unsaid, like like I need to understand
Right.
how they're saying, like if they're saying I don't want to go, then they just don't mean I don't
So-
want to go.
No. So you need to understand where are they coming from. As simple as that. It's. I know. For now,
No,
you're thinking it's work.
So what I'm saying is कि I prefer relations, associations where
Right.
the extent to which we are being vocal
Okay.
in communicating is what
Okay.
I'm looking for.
Yeah. I
So-
agree with that actually. You
Hang
know,
on.
Yeah.
I will still stop you because I have one thing to sort of rebut out here.
Hmm.
I understand words completely. Amen. Words do matter, but typically you cannot. I mean, you need to look at this as a language that you learn. Now, for example, Garhwali. I don't, as an individual, right? So I wouldn't say ki, I cannot have a communication with any Garhwali for that matter, right? You need to find a common ground to identify how to communicate with that person. As simple as that. Now,
Yeah, you
okay.
create your own language basically.
Exactly.
Right.
So when
But
you are,
that starts with verbal communication.
I
because
am
that is
I am
the
with you.
known
Hang
language,
on.
you know.
Hang on. So even when you are speaking Garhwali, it is verbal. Even when you're in that common ground wala language for
Hmm.
this conversation, it's still going to be verbal. It begins from that.
Hmm.
But at a lot of places, that when the other person can only speak Garhwali, right, and I can only speak English,
The
there will be
body language.
still ways to communicate with that individual which you cannot discount as much as you try, right? Let's hang on. So there is a particular language which you need to kind of understand a bit to be able to have a communication with that other person, right? I know you think that it is going to be work. It doesn't involve your
It's going to be super work. I
No,
coordinate
hang
with
on.
my Bangalore counterparts, and like
Correct.
they talk in English, but their English is different.
Exactly. So you put in a very
So-
simple language.
Just imagine that
Right.
relationship,
Hmm.
that type of a relationship that I intend to have with the partner of opposite sex is going to be so much work.
No. That is what. So now when you look at it, that it is going to be so much of work, you will actually look at it from a perspective that do I want to actually take the risk? But
Yeah,
hang
the
on.
interest has to be there.
Exactly.
Correct.
The
Then I'll
intent,
bloody
the-
learn French, Colombia, whatever, whatnot. I mean,
because you've spoken Colombian with
Espanol. Yeah.
Espanol, yeah. Spain.
So
Sorry.
it is all on the
Spanish.
interest, right? It's all on the interest.
Exactly.
Is the person worth it?
worth my time,
Exactly.
worth
Exactly.
me suffering or
Exactly.
whatnot.
And I'm telling you, it is so effortless. Believe me, it doesn't require any huge amount of efforts to actually understand. You just need to put yourself in that person's shoe.
No,
and
that is
listen.
just one aspect, bro. Like the language that you work out to have a better
No, because
understanding.
people miss out this major part of this language is listening. They actually discount this very, very in a very small
And I
little
don't
snap.
take words seriously after a point of time. Basically, verbal communication, I'm into that. I mean, that is the most important thing.
Yeah.
But then, the kind of language you develop with the person, right?
Right.
There should be some common grounds in terms of
100%.
what that particular language means to them. So basically, I rely a lot upon body language. So as you said, Gadwali, right?
Yeah.
If a person knows that language, it's fine. If the other person does not even know anything about, but the
Right.
body language will be same,
Agreed.
right? And body language in any language
Hmm.
is the same.
True.
Right? So a body never lies. That's what
Agreed.
I think, right?
Agreed.
The micro expressions or
Hmm.
anything.
Yeah.
The body never lies. So, and you would want to develop that kind of language with the other person. Identify the body language, right? So verbal, I mean, it starts with verbal.
Yeah.
But then it grows into something else. Then you communicate in a different language. But it starts with verbal, as Abhishek said, right?
But whenever it is verbal, right? I mean, still, I would still try to stress upon this. Listening is one of the very, fundamental. importance in that particular communication. If you say that, I want to be as verbal and as contractual as possible with the significant other when I'm having a conversation.
That depends upon you what kind of relationship you
I
wanna
understand.
have.
I understand. But you need to also have the space to be able to listen to that person,
Correct.
right? Because it is another human being. Because since you would want to be listened, as in you would want to
And
speak.
I feel listening itself is not that of an issue. Like the challenges that I face is not that people don't listen. A lot of them don't. But I feel the problem is not that.
Okay.
The problem is they do not effectively communicate.
No, so
This is
That
this
can be
is
possible.
this is like
Correct.
Problem. Yeah.
catching fire.
Yeah.
There's something which a lot of people that
Right.
I personally face difficulties, like they are not able to communicate.
Mm.
Yep.
Because they have not been taught to.
It doesn't matter if they are not being taught to, if it's a professional environment or if it's a relation,
Mhm.
right? You
Mhm.
come to terms, you agree a certain behavior,
right.
Mm.
right? That you can call me kuchi kuchi ku or certain things, but
Yeah.
you won't call me a dickhead
Mm.
Yeah.
in
That
front
is
of my
disrespect.
friends.
So
Mm.
I mean, you've
Something
identified
that
you
you've conquered on, like
Correct.
that you agree to.
Hmm.
So you dictate terms and the other person has to oblige, right? So similarly in a working environment also, people still fail to understand. So communication, so listening is, I believe it used to be a problem and it still is, but what's quickly picking up is not being able to communicate.
Yeah.
So that is the other side of the puzzle, right? Like I said, you want a communicative sort of a channel to come into place. Amen. You also do have the obligation or the burden to be an effective communicator as well in that communication.
Mm.
But I will still stress upon listening. I will say why. Because if I am not even listening, there is no one listening. What is the person even trying to communicate? I don't know. So I won't say this is more powerful, this is less powerful as such, but they are kind of equally important in any conversation. Because I mean, when you provide that person that plethora of space, that whole, just speak your heart out. I am here to listen, which means the waves are going to come on my ears. I'm going to comprehend things. I'm going to self-reflect on a few things. I'm going to actually see what he's trying to or she is trying to say. Now, again, that's a longer process, right? And that typically you can do with certain relationships which are very, very longer in nature. Now, for instance, you have a co-founder you're working with for the past 18 odd years. So it may be a lot of instances where you won't be agreeing on a lot of things, but are you understanding the other person's language, the way that person is speaking? And are you actually listening that where is that person coming from? Now, is that person being narcissistic or being sort of an empath? You need to identify that. Is that person sort of coming from a place of absolute abundance and not feeling scared and willing to take that risk? So, I mean, these are the subtle millions of calculations which happen in your head, and that is when you don't give it time and you react. What I am saying that maybe listen carefully what is happening. You will be shocked and amused, because at a lot of instances when the other person is sharing and you are absolutely with that person and you're listening your heart out, you are able to retain it. So people who tell me that I don't have a good memory are just lying. You are able to retain it with you, and at the same time you are able to respond better.
Yeah. And listening is contagious.
Agreed. So that
If you
too.
are listening to me, actually, I would also listen to you.
Exactly.
Right?
I mean, not out of obligation, but it just happens
Yeah.
because you are already coming from a place of just giving away my listening. What do I expect
And
from
it's
it?
a good feeling
Nothing.
to be understood.
Oh yeah. So I mean, in
in
a
my
very
leadership as well. Yeah.
correct, in a very secretive way, the other person feels light. The other person feels happy. The other person feels they would want to conquer XYZ, and a different type of a motivation comes in place. Would you be able to do this at workplace? Not with everyone. I get it, because your time is of the essence. But if you have plethora of time, all the time in the world, like you say, right? I mean, that's the luxury which we can use. Time as a luxury, right? If you can take all the time in the world and actually sit and listen, it does pay you off in
Yeah.
ways you can't even imagine. I mean, you actually have a very good chuckle and you don't feel, I mean, powerless out of that conversation. But you need to listen and acknowledge at that same time, and be aware what is happening. As simple as that. So
And these are the qualities of a good leader as well. So it is said, right, in a business meeting or anything, right? The last person to speak should be basically the decision maker. So
Okay.
basically everybody else,
the final word, yeah.
correct, everybody else has spoken.
Yeah.
And they are feeling that they are empowered, they are being listened to, right?
Yeah.
Everybody feels that way.
Right.
You should be the last person to speak up.
The final word always.
The final word, it can be a decisive one or maybe a non-decisive one. That doesn't matter, right?
Right.
But a leader always speaks the last, and everybody then listens because they feel that they have been listened to, right?
Yeah.
And then whatever you in whichever
from that
thought you
side,
want,
yeah, got
you have instilled, you want to be instilled, right? Inspire or anything else,
Yeah.
then you can do that because everybody else was able to put their piece on the
Yeah.
table, right?
Makes sense. But again, so the whole differentiator which I would put in here is an organization can't be run like a relationship. A relationship cannot be run like an organization. I mean, I try to sort of make it as distinguishing as possible because the efforts or the work or the place that you're coming from for a relationship may or may not be the same in terms of an organization.
They are more
also.
logical in our
Correct.
organization. Basically, they are
Correct.
more
Because
logical.
there are lesser variables there, right? I mean, there are
Correct.
a lot
But
of
that's
controllables
a
and a lot of.
controlled environment you can
Correct.
train yourself
Correct.
into, right?
Then you're relying typically on luck that COVID doesn't happen or there
But-
is not an earthquake or whatever.
But then relationships also start with that, right? You start with a controlled environment. You share like a small thing.
Correct.
And then you see the other person's reaction, right?
Correct.
And then you think try to judge on the basis of those reactions. You try to judge what's the thought process for the of
Correct.
the other person, right?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it starts with that.
Yep.
But then you have to have your intuition and your experiences, and I mean the kind of person you have become into, basically.
And keep on identifying.
Correct.
Yeah, sure. So I'll still come back to that same point where I was actually speaking to Pallavi. So at that time, right? I mean, Abhishek was going through hell. I know that. I don't know what can I do to sort of comfort him or sort of be of some sort of help, right? So I thought that now this was my personal bias and assumption, right? Is he happy in his salary? Maybe, may not be. I asked him. He said no. So that's when I said, you know what, there is an opportunity where I'm going to be working at. You want to check for it, and it took a while, right? Because I joined in Jan, you joined in March or Feb.
You joined in Feb,
Yeah,
and then I joined on 7th March, I believe.
exactly, something of those sorts. So maybe March end is when I joined. March end, because I came to Mumbai on the 21st of
So you
Jan.
joined first, and then after you, I joined.
Yes, correct. So
30,
there was still
35
a
days
time
after.
gap, right? Because there was certain conversations which were happening. Maybe you're convinced, you aren't convinced. And it was kind of just, so again, now the place where I was coming from was to purely help you out. I mean,
Correct.
what is going to happen in the future? I don't know. I on a genuine note, I didn't care whatever was going to happen. I wanted to say that, this is what I can do. And probably this will help him to become whatever he is. Now, I just had to do that. So again, a place where you're coming from is just about giving. So you don't feel burdened or maybe disempowered or empowered to, sort of do anything. It works amazing. It doesn't, still amazing. Right? So that's where, I sort of, I'm reflecting on right now as to the type of conversations which, I used to have with myself back then and now that I have with myself. So, I mean, every walk of life, you are going to come across people. I think the joy in giving is there's nothing better in that. I mean, you've told me, AB man, and I mean the sheer happiness that you receive out of it. Now that could be one thing which you want to ideally identify as maybe a source of your happiness, right? I mean, I'm just giving you a food for thought. I mean, it's on you how you want to sort of look at it. So every individual, again, coming back to the same circle, every individual has situation, things, or a state, which to which they've attached a certain meaning to it, saying that this is going to be my source of happiness, right? I mean, the other day, I guess I don't remember. I guess I was speaking to you or someone that only to realize when you reach there, it's not making you happy enough. But ideally, you want to reach there and then get the answer, and not sort of sit and assume that is it going to be my source of happiness or not? Because a few people who've reached there are definitely happy enough, because for them the things which brings with that particular position as such, or maybe a state, or as a state of being, probably they derive the maximum happiness out of that, right? I mean, they are totally aware of the things which are going to come with it. Say, for instance, if you have, say, a lot of money, you are going to have a lot of insecurities about a few things, right? Just for an example, say, and you are okay to have those insecurities. You are taking complete responsibility of it, that the money is going to bring in these things. These are the things which are going to happen. Certain things maybe be a few assumptions, but by default, you are choosing and taking responsibility of whatever you're doing and whatever is going to come your way. So I guess quite a lot of things which came up. I mean, I'm glad we had this conversation, because I mean, I for one didn't know what to talk about assumptions. I mean, that's where I was at. But as the podcast was sort of progressing, a lot of things I could actually self-reflect on. So what happens is you're actually, being sort of reflecting from the other person's perspective also. Because when Nick was speaking something, I was actually thinking about a few things which I actually tried to say it out also. And when AB was speaking, or even Pallavi was speaking, I was actually self-reflecting on a lot of things. So typically, this is what we ask, all our listeners to do. Maybe, sit and self-reflect and be aware of these conversations that are happening. Because life is amazing. You just need to listen to it. Just keep your ears open, eyes open, and the opportunities are endless out there. You have no ideas of what and how things are going to actually land up with you. But as a natural segment of ours, let's try to identify certain resources as such which you can recommend in terms of how do you want to actually sort of lead your life, and maybe certain books or podcasts, if you guys want to sort of put it out there. AB, anything, or should I typically start off? Because I had a few resources which I was actually thinking. So there is this one book called The 3% Man, which is oftenly spoken on the podcast. I mean, men, women alike definitely should sort of listen to or read that book. For certain men specifically, I would say The Way of the Superior Man. Oh, I mean, it's a definitive eye opener. A lot of things I could self reflect on what I heard there and what I heard from you guys. I was actually matching those things, and I can actually see the things which he. I'm forgetting the author's name, who's been sort of written about that. And 3% Man, The Way of the Superior Man, again talked about. No More Mr. Nice Guy. That even the women can actually listen to, because they'll only be saying things that yep, he's right. Because a lot of places you are actually. So I mean, these are typically things from a more of a dating standpoint, or more of a being in a relationship standpoint, or whatever standpoint. But you can actually use this template in general and think from it from a plane below. You take a notch below and go deeper and think where this actually is coming from. So like Pallavi once said that it is coming from a childhood trauma. It is coming from a childhood upbringing. So you need to actually take it a level deeper. Maybe ask a few whys for yourself. And that'll certainly help you to rethink on a few things. Julian himself, as a YouTube channel, amazing. I mean, consume as much content as you can. The guy talks tons about sort of self-reflection on a few things. But yeah, that's my two satoshis on the resources that I would typically recommend. And any one of you guys, Nick, Pallavi, or
So
maybe.
I don't know how many of you have read Alchemist.
Yeah.
So
Huge
basically,
fan.
I mean,
Paulo
Paulo
Coelho.
Coelho.
Yeah.
So basically, in that, what I understood is, see, we assume.
Yeah.
The story started with a point wherein some traveler told the person that there is far off land,
Mm.
wherein it's the treasury, this gold, this diamond.
Yeah.
S- So the person who is being a shepherd, he
Mm.
travels.
Yeah.
He travels with the assumption that you know maybe with this travel, this particular travel of mine will one day lead to me to that particular purpose.
Correct.
Basically, the purpose of my life.
Mm.
In that purpose, he came across multiple experiences,
Yeah.
multiple things.
Right.
Things got delayed, but still he was with the feeling that I need to reach.
Yeah.
I need to reach my destination. I need
Yeah.
to serve my purpose. But when the purpose was served,
Yeah.
when he actually reached the destination that he
Yeah.
was traveling for from a long time,
Yeah.
what he realized was it was not the purpose that made him happy.
That's the journey.
It was the journey,
Yeah.
the experiences, the good and bad,
Yeah.
is what basically he was missing then.
Correct.
He reached to that destination,
Right.
but he was more happy about the point that this experiences that he had.
Correct.
It all started with what I wanted to say is all started with assumption. Okay,
Okay.
some assumptions were good for him, some assumptions were bad for him,
Right.
but at the end what he saw is the experiences is that what all mattered to him.
Correct. So you need to be aware of life is happening and
Happening,
enjoy
yeah.
every single moment.
Your
Yeah.
experiences, because now
True.
I don't know, I mean, many of us tomorrow 3-4 days, I wouldn't even say 3-4 days, one day after today,
Hmm.
you'll be doing something else, you'll
Correct.
be traveling somewhere else,
Or you no longer will live.
you no longer will live.
Who
But right
knows?
now, when I am there with you, or when we are together,
Yeah.
let's cherish that moment and let's live that moment.
Absolutely. I mean, enjoy and give it as much power as you can. Mm, Your present is your source of happiness. Maybe anything you want to, add certain YouTube channels or maybe say certain podcast specifically which you would want to sort of recommend.
Lately, I've not been consuming podcasts of serious topics.
Okay.
I'm watching a lot of impulsive.
Yeah.
Knowing more about people rather than
Mm.
the element of life. So
Yeah.
I need to get back on those topics. But then again, of lately, I've not been consuming
It's okay. It's
those
fine.
content. But then,
What I am thinking of right now is not right now. Basically, I'm thinking from quite a long time now is life is harsh.
Mm. Mm.
Life is cruel.
True.
Life is like it's gonna suck, but let's live one day at a time. I mean,
So-
let's live that moment.
say
Let's,
I'll tell
I
you,
agree.
when you say that live a little, live your life one day at a time, you just need to ensure. So you need to be operating from a position where you can caution yourself that you're being complacent. So because whenever someone says like, live life, or
king size.
not just king size, someone who's emphasizing more about the immediate present,
Mm.
that is in a way troublesome for me. Troublesome in the sense I do not always agree.
Me too.
So it's basically you don't wish to bust your ass for a promising tomorrow. You
And
just
that's
want
just
to.
like a bahana.
हाँ मेरे को तो वैसे ही लग रहा है. So
No. So
No,
now again, like, because whenever I felt that way, I've also realized that I'm just trying to pry away from the challenges that I face. I just, instead of working towards sorting out my life, I'm just hoping for a sorted out life.
no. So I will partly agree with you, but let me just give it a right spin. Maybe the mindset you want to operate out of is enjoy your work that you're doing.
Yeah.
Right. So if you actually are alive and you're actually grateful to the job that you have per se, just for a conversation's sake, and is actually motivated enough to work and work towards a direction. So you're enjoying today, right? I mean, you're enjoying every single inch of that is happening to you,
Enjoying would be a very strong word, actually. I'll tell you.
or derive happiness out of it.
The day you believe that life, your career, your journey is nothing but a series of stairs,
correct.
Yeah.
right? For you, the first step would be so difficult, but once you arrive to that first step, that's not the end of it.
Correct.
Exactly.
So honestly, like, I've successfully been working for the past 14 plus years. This April 1st, I completed 14 years of full time working.
Yeah.
Right, full time. Out of which only 3 months I've done part time. That's again back in 2008.
Yeah.
When the first year I started working. So what I was just trying to say is that should I forgot?
Yeah, that's okay.
What
That's
were we
okay. That's
talking about?
One day at a time.
one.
So
yeah.
again, like I've always been trying to, run away from the red pill, the things that actually matter, and I've just been trying to, think that how good it would be, if I just woke up without any missed calls or SMS messages to follow up, emails to reply to. So no, actually, I was saying something
So
else.
and I get it, but let's just hold on to this. If you actually enjoy the process of being an important person, and I get so many calls, so I mean automatically your key of happiness lies within you. So life is going to happen to you whether you like it, you don't. I mean, if you have say an exposition in an organization, the life is still going to happen to you. You need to.
So I sorry
Uh-huh.
to interrupt again. So I just remembered. So basically, when you said like you enjoy the moment, you enjoy your work. Honestly, like I was mentioning earlier, that it's been 14 years that I've been working full time. Most of those years that I've worked, I swear I have not enjoyed them at all.
I get it.
Yes,
I've
yes, I
just
know.
despised
I get it.
doing that.
Yep.
I've cried within. I've done everything I could, but then the circumstances were such that I just could not be allowed to. I could not allow
You did the
myself
needful.
to break down, to quit, back away.
Correct.
So that's what. So I still, so like I was saying, what I wanted to say was life is just like nothing but series of stairs.
Correct.
So this job that I got, I'm not loving it. That's fine.
Right.
Just dig in deep. Like, there has to be some reason before you just randomly quit.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. You like it, you don't. That's a separate
And-
conversation. But what I'm saying is, try and derive happiness of life that is happening to
That's
you.
difficult. That's
I know.
difficult to
It is
derive
a
happiness.
larger
You'll-
actualization process.
Yeah,
but-
I mean, and it's still okay. See, that's what maturity is: being aware of what to consume in what portions.
Got it.
Right? Derive certain happiness. So I
True.
know I won't derive certain happiness, but I won't crib about it all the time.
True.
So I'll tell myself that I'm getting good at it. Trying to derive certain happiness. But am I successful in deriving? No.
True.
But do I stop? No.
Exactly.
So that's what maturity is trying
So
to
consistency
understand.
is certainly going to lead you. You need to be consistent with whatever you're doing. But I will still say, don't stop enjoying life. By enjoying life, so again, I'll tell you perhaps where you're coming from. Enjoying life means go out, have a drink. Enjoying life means go.
No, have it all. Have it all. I mean, screw yourself to the
No,
extent.
not that scene, but I mean things that will kind of divert you from your whole purpose, right? So what I would recommend is go on your path, kind of understand which direction are you at, kind of understand which direction are you going towards, and lead your life towards it, right? Take the necessary steps which are required, but enjoy while you're doing it. Have happiness while you're doing it, is what I'm trying to say. Don't work out of fear. I know it's difficult said than it is easy said than done.
Exactly.
I get it. I am able to maybe speak more strongly because I am feeling a bit more secured in a few things. But then now when the other day we were speaking, you said that, now for me to make money is going to be a quick snap, right? Now you're already coming from a place of a lot of security. So perhaps you can still look at, finding happiness in what you're doing. Perhaps you take your job as one of your stepping stones.
Yeah, so
Correct.
I just waited till the day that I absolutely love
Correct.
my work, which I
Correct.
do now.
Correct. Exactly. So you are
I've made
patient and
my-
committed and consistent.
Correct.
And you
I've made
value
my
that more.
True.
right?
I've made my compromises to be able to enjoy
Exactly.
the work that I've gotten into.
Now-
And
Now, if you talk about the worldly enjoyments and all those things which will kind of try to drive you away from your purpose, is what I will say that, yep, you shouldn't be doing that. But things that will add to your purpose and you're enjoying it, why not? So for instance, you love traveling, and with your job, it gives you traveling. Amen. You're
yeah,
enjoying and
wonderful.
you get it, right? I mean, you're trying to be in that position which is going to actually add to your overall higher or the purpose which you are actually trying to seek, or at times you just know that this is my purpose, right? So and it comes magically to you beyond explanation. Even I don't know how do I actually identify my purposes, but it will slowly and steadily sort of present itself to you, and that's when you need to just grab it, or nothing else. There's nothing else which I'm trying to sort of put out there, that enjoy your life means leave all your work and go out and keep enjoying. No. What to
You
say?
you need to strike a balance, basically.
Kind of, you could say that, strike a balance, because it is difficult at times.
That's again a
Because-
difficult. You can't really. It's very. You can easily say that you need to balance your work, and you need to balance your family.
I understand, but that also would
and your
need
personal
work
life.
in it. You need to put in the work to balance, because you need to do justice to whatever you're doing as such.
But at,
So-
at the end, what matters, which I have always seen, is the materialistic happiness that you're getting out of it. That's what I believe. Because okay, you're not able to strike that balance between your work or your personal life or your love life, whatever it is.
Hmm.
You're not able to strike that balance.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, when you are you're done with your work, okay, and now it's like time to sleep, and you have achieved that materialist happiness. That nowadays I feel that matters a lot.
But are you going to stop there is the main question,
I
right?
won't be stopping, but
Exactly.
yes, but in the
So
meanwhile,
the work doesn't get over. That's what
work
I'm trying
doesn't
to
get
say.
over. What I always, I have fight with my best friend
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
Abhishek, basically in that
Hmm,
case.
hmm.
So we always have that, that discussion wherein I'm like, let's do this,
Hmm.
and he's like, okay, nahi. Matlab, ठीक है, थोड़े time के लिए, you can be off your work
Hmm.
because let's do it. So what I always think in that front is, that course, that moment basically,
Hmm.
it should be lived.
No, so
Not necessarily that okay, we need to go out boozing only or हमको बैठ के कुछ करना ही है.
No.
ऐसे ही.
so hang on. So you can, I understand where you're coming from, in terms of what derives happiness for you, but that may or may not necessarily
Exactly.
derive a happiness.
Happiness
And
for-
as a friend, I would say it will be better if you actually leave him be and say, "Okay, you know what? If you need me, I'm here."
Yes.
As simple as that.
No,
He'll-
exactly. Relationships, see, now it's again, we started with assumption, then we got into, stages of life, what is needed, what not is needed.
Right.
Okay. At the end, it always comes to one thing, what? The relationship.
No, so again, there was this one very beautiful video which I was seeing today, surprisingly. So it said that in any relationship, right, we think about things that makes us happy. We should share it with the other person, right? But often there are certain things which are, and these are easy things, right? I mean, I can buy you a purse, I can buy you a wallet, I can buy you a shoe, I can buy you a car or whatever, and you give the other person, you feel happy. But at times there are these situations where it will make you feel uncomfortable to give that person that, right? For instance, asking your friend to say that, you know what, go out there, kill it. You need any support, I'm going to be here. It's a difficult task, right? I mean, as a friend or even to your significant other, saying that, you know what, you've reached here in your career. What next? Are you going to go out and kill it? Or are you going to clip that person's wings saying that, hey, yaar, what about the house? You get it? It's kind of a very difficult conversation at that moment, because you ideally want that person to behave in a certain way which you ideally think as ideal.
Assume.
But if you have that type of a conversation that you say that, you know what, hey, it's been a while, I actually want to go and take you out for drinking. Are you okay with it? Or please find time, I don't care when. When you give him that freedom ki अरे चल 2 महीने बाद बताएगा वो, and you're okay with it also.
No.
So your sadness doesn't come in the picture. That's what I'm trying to say. You are protecting
Basically,
yourself
the thing
of
is-
anything else.
At the end, we, one point of time now, if I talk about my emotions and my things with the people whom I love the most, majority of time I don't assume.
Yeah.
Because I've made my mind that way, wherein my mind itself doesn't assume things.
No, I'm not attacking you. I'm just saying that leave it. It's fine. When it's the most difficult gift you can give any person for that matter, right? कि चल कोई नहीं, तू अपने हिसाब से जी. For you, you are thinking that it is at best in my heart to do that for the other person, but it will be so difficult for you to give the other person the same thing. But still, you are saying, hey, no worries, I'm going to still be there. So that's the level of commitment which you're
Staying
looking
there
at.
is always there. What I always, incline towards is
Hmm.
live for yourself. It's not necessary that you have to come out, drink with me. Do what you want to do and do what you love to do.
So, I mean, you should ask him, are you enjoying or are you happy with what you're doing? Do what do you love to do? So, are you loving what you're doing? So, I mean, that's the answer which he has to answer. You're not supposed to answer for him,
Correct.
right?
No,
I mean,
exactly.
the minute you start answering it, that is where you're assuming. That's the simplest bit. I mean, that's how we've been talking also the other day about, let the other person answer. Why are you answering for the other person, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Why would I answer in the first
No,
place?
exactly. So, I mean, that's kind of a gift which you can, and it's kind of the most expensive gift that you can give the other person. Sort of being there and at the same time appreciating what the other person is actually, sort of reaching to or even sacrificing for that matter. So being aware on those terms is also quite a bit.
But living that journey and climbing that steps you said, it's a continuous process of one step.
Hmm.
The career I said.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean,
Career
it
is
is a
choose.
series of steps basically.
Yeah.
Correct.
You have to enjoy the moment also.
No, so by enjoy the moment, I will still say that enjoying the moment wherever you are. So
Correct.
if you are in the podcast, you are speaking and giving your heart out to the podcast, and if you're at your workplace, you're giving the heart out, and if your whole the goal demands you to work 24/7, that includes 7 days a week.
Mm.
You enjoy what you're doing because you choose.
And the beauty is that you get to define your own entertainment.
Mhm.
Exactly.
And it
Yeah.
not necessarily be similar to how you would like to go about it or
Right.
And
how
you're
Viru would like to
unapologetic
go about
about
it.
it.
Correct.
No,
Being unapologetic should be your badge.
Yeah.
Because the world has told you to be apologetic for a lot of
I'm
things.
so sorry. I'm so sorry. You're programmed to do that. Say sorry when you do something wrong,
True.
which people perceive as wrong.
And you're already sorry before the other person feels bad about it also.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Unapologetic. Being that in that phase, it's really difficult.
So Pallavi, any resources you would put in that
The
you would
book of
recommend?
life.
Okay. We're getting to American that was Book of Love.
The book of life. Yeah, your own life.
Yeah.
This you might have missed so many learnings.
Hmm.
You need to introspect and just write your own
Right.
self-help book.
That's an interesting perspective and a first. Nice. Probably are we kind of in some sort of a space where we agree and certain places agree to disagree on a few things that assuming may or may not be the key, but what is the key is going to be awareness, communication, putting in the work, and
that
sort of deriving happiness out of whatever you're.
and whatever you're assuming, it should lead to something good rather than it leading to
I
something.
mean, whatever you do, yeah, to a certain extent that you have goals in mind, and focus maybe should be towards a direction in the goals, and enjoy every day that you have, and be grateful for every day. If not enjoying, be grateful for every day and everything that you typically have certain gratitude. Just go out, walk in. Maybe people do it this way that they are out there and then seeing the smaller things and are showing gratitude towards it. But you know what, I see this bird flying or maybe something like that. So people derive their gratitude out of certain things. You might derive your gratitude out of certain other things. That's why bowing your head and that simply is just a sign to show gratitude towards whatever you feel is worthy of it, right? And in general, I would say show gratitude for everything if possible. Even the pain and everything that is
There are
coming.
two quotes that I just was trying to recollect. So
Yeah.
I heard Mike Tyson say once in a podcast that people who say that, I'm not happy, money will make me happy.
Yeah.
So he says, you didn't have money before. How is so sure that, it
Yeah.
will make you happy?
Right.
And then the second one is that SRK said it, I believe, that get rich first and then become a philosopher.
Exactly.
So it's very
But
easy
the
to say.
definition of rich is individualistic. right?
Exactly.
That's
So that's
a
what
thing,
Bob
yeah.
Marley says.
Correct.
Yeah.
What is money?
I remember his interview.
What is money?
So
Correct.
How much is
correct.
rich?
correct.
Correct.
So
So what I took away from that quote when SRK said that first become rich and then become a philosopher. So I immediately targeted in my mind people who said or are of the opinion like money is not everything. Like it's okay. Like if you don't have these many possessions in life. So I could only remember of all the people who don't aspire to be wealthy and must gyan chipka dete hai or for their
I mean,
for their
who are-
inaction basically. So-
No.
So that's
I
what I
get where
took
you're coming
basically.
from, yeah.
Rich to an extent that I could relate to. Basically,
Hmm.
that people shy away from, that people don't want to put in the work for.
Or just are using it as a reason to not work.
Because I'll tell you, everyone wants to be rich.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be rich outside,
Monetarily.
outside their home.
Monetarily, right? You're talking about.
Yeah, the money
yeah.
rich. Everyone wants to be,
Hmm.
but putting in the effort, suffering, this again gets to a very different topic. But then,
Maybe we can do something about that topic in
Yeah.
terms of actually what can you identify as a suffering and how can you actually. So maybe the last one we were talking about that itself.
I mean, anything that doesn't make you feel like getting out of the bed today,
Yeah.
that is suffering in a way. You could
Yeah.
exaggerate suffering to your mighty best. I didn't feel like getting out of bed, working from a cafe.
Yeah.
I did it anyway
Right.
because I know like too many days of agreeing, giving into this feeling will set me years back.
Correct. And it's going to create a habit.
And one thing
You're-
I'm convinced that I'm sold on is
Hmm.
today, if I keep saying yes, if I keep pushing my body, my mind, my work,
Hmm.
if I look at time as something that I want to take advantage of
Yeah.
from a very opportunistic mindset,
Hmm.
then what will it reap? Failure, it's something which comes with the bag,
Yeah.
but the upside to which it can take me, it's
Hmm.
humongous. So I believe in that possibility, and that's why I believe I'm able to do a lot of things like which normally no one more wishes to
Hmm.
do it, but I do that very.
There's a smile on your face and
Yeah, it's just that I'm just
What else
smiling
could-
looking at the prospect
Yeah.
because I know like doing these things, like ultimately
So-
I was just telling someone like if you want to, I was telling you right yesterday or day before yesterday while we were on the bike, like if you want to do, I was talking to Lali.
Hmm.
So I was saying ki you need to do things today that others won't.
Yeah.
Now there's a big difference, understand? You need to do things today that others won't,
Hmm.
so that you can continue doing tomorrow that others cannot.
Yeah.
Now won't is something that I intentionally will not. Cannot is something that I cannot afford to most of
Yeah.
the times.
Hmm.
at least you have an option for
So
won't,
this
right?
itself has so much. Come again?
You don't have an so in terms of won't, it's like a choice. You made that choice. And can't is you cannot do anything
You cannot
about
reverse that,
it. Correct.
at least for a stipulated time frame.
Yeah.
So I feel that has a lot of power in itself, So
Hmm.
obviously I want to, like I used to, like Deepu used to ask, like, why do you have to work so much?
Yeah.
So I was like, because my ambitions, my desire for myself far outweigh everyone combined in the room.
Correct.
You don't desire too much from life.
Right.
I've desired so much that
Hmm.
even that I feel is like my fear is that I'm not imagining enough.
Hmm.
So again, what is too much? Nothing.
Correct.
For me, too much is something which I'm not able to actively visualize every day.
Yeah.
That's when I feel ki, okay, then I need to take a decision. Do I need to keep it in my books, like
Yeah.
something that I need to pursue, or just replace it with something more exciting?
So I
So
guess
it's a very good position to be in, money and more money.
Correct. So I guess I'll back this up with this video I was talking about the other day. I guess Tuesday or Wednesday. I was telling you, right? Which Ro had put on the group of if
Joe
you
Rogan.
if you don't respect Joe Rogan,
Correct.
so listen to this. I mean that's the actual title of the YouTube video, 11-minute one, where he talks about two things which is crucial. The same problem statement which I was stating. The way to deal with it: discipline, consistency. The only two ways to actually, because sure, you are not happy to get up and go to the gym. I get it. But if you push yourself through, your 10 years later, maybe a 42-year-old self will thank the 32-year-old self. Arey,
And
amazing.
And I'll tell you, not giving in is also a very good thing. When I was not making good money, I was
Yeah.
only reliable on my salary, and my job was also not that stable.
Right.
I remember my mom consistently telling me, at times, even my dad, like,
Hmm.
it's difficult for you to manage money.
Hmm.
Whatever's left, you can just give it to us. We'll
Hmm.
save it for you.
Hmm.
The money is yours. You get to take it whenever you want.
Yeah.
But if you are finding difficult to let that money stay in your bank,
Hmm.
then you can, without shame, just hand over the cash or transfer that money to us, and we'll save it for you.
Hmm.
Because she was so convinced that I was illiterate
Hmm.
money wise. I couldn't manage my funds.
Yeah.
I've been told, like, there's a guy, Mayur, he's told me once, like, you're money illiterate. I forgot what that term is basically.
Hmm. Whatever.
So-
huh.
Again, not good with managing funds.
Yeah.
Financial literate.
Financial illiterate.
Huh.
The money decisions that I used to make. And it's not like I used to make very good money.
Yeah.
So, and my excuse was like, whatever minuscule this is, what excellent thing should I do within it? So
Hmm.
again, till today, like, if I just feel like, if at that point I would have told my mom, okay, fine, from starting today, I'll start giving you my money, you manage it for me,
Hmm.
then I don't think I would have been what I am today. And to be again honest, I'm not the best managers of money, but I feel I managed it to an extent that makes that I am convinced that it is sane. If I
So the-
told you guys, you would feel it's insane.
The-
but then
The
again,
beauty of it is you take responsibility of it. As
correct,
simple as that.
absolutely.
Yeah, you're
As
not
simple
in
as that.
denial.
Exactly.
right?
There's no denial. There's no blame game. There's no, giving anyone else the power for your happiness and your relationship with your money. As simple
Yeah,
as
you
that.
might have regretted it maybe years after that. Okay, ये मैं कहीं invest कर दिया होता तो अच्छा होता ये वो. I mean, then the regret game happens, right?
The resentment. And everything also,
Resentment.
yeah.
You would have resented your
Mm.
parents, right? But now you have no way out. You have to, you are responsible for it. You need to realize that, and you
Yeah,
do
so,
realize that,
and-
right?
throughout the journey, I was aware that I'm still sucking
Hmm.
at managing the money,
Hmm.
still fine. Like, I still haven't given up.
Hmm.
Correct.
So that's what, right? I mean, a lot of people who discourage you would majorly be your loved ones, because they
Yeah.
don't want to see you go through a very miserable
Right.
patch, because they feel the results will be next to none,
Hmm.
like zero,
So they
Yeah.
don't
because
don't
they
believe
use
in
their
you.
own so it's not always they don't believe in you, they just feel the entire industry is rotten,
Yeah.
right? I mean, if I tell you, like, I'm planning to pursue BAMS, Ayurveda,
Hmm.
back in those days, I remember I told my aunt, she was in Canada, and I was like, I'm doing BMS.
Yeah.
I don't know what got into her. She, gave me a lecture for 30 minutes. She misheard, basically. She thought I said I'm pursuing BAMS.
Ayurveda.
And all of a sudden I'm like, कि ये आयुर्वेदा का क्यों ज्ञान फैल रही है ना?
Hmm.
So that's what, like, back in those days, people used to discourage.
Yeah.
That there's no money to be made. I used
Right.
to tell my father, like, I want to be a lawyer. And immediately he's like, yeah, you've gotten good at lying, so you feel you want to be a lawyer.
Huh.
But then that was also because they were not making too much money.
Right.
There was just handful of.
So they did
people.
not have the exposure, right? It
So,
comes
but
back
then
to
again, now
experiences and
I
exposure.
feel like smart lawyers do make money.
Oh yeah.
No. Again, you need to just forgive that conversation, right? I mean, you actually tend to I mean, I'm not talking about you per se. I'm talking about humans in general tend to sort of resent their parents because of certain small little things which they've said, maybe.
Because you take them really seriously.
Exactly. No, why do you take them really seriously? They are your core relationships. You're here because of them,
Correct.
right? So you have certain set of attachment to them, and whatever they say,
You
actually
seek validation and approval from them.
true to a certain extent, but then actually you realize that they control quite a bit of your life as such, the way you see it, in terms of just very simple words which will actually sort of perhaps traumatize you or motivate you to be the best version of yourself. But again, it's perhaps later when you realize
again,
that
again maturity,
exactly
the
later.
maturity to understand the values that your parents have,
Right. And
and how you can use those values to further enable your
right.
growth trajectory.
Right.
I won't say a lot of parents are. I mean, this
They are not
gets to be
qualified
very debatable, but then
Correct. We
again,
were
very
talking about this,
casual,
yeah.
very casual in nature, right? I mean, I don't. I
No,
cannot
but I'm
respect much.
glad that we are having this sort of a conversation where we are actually self-reflecting on to becoming something we want to. And
I
we are
mean, not blaming, even if we are blaming,
Exactly.
but still we hold accountability.
True.
We are what we
because
are.
deep within we know who is at fault.
Correct. We always will be. You know.
Exactly.
So I believe there's a certain age to which you can always crib about. Like to
Hmm.
me, I felt 22 was the age till when I
Yeah.
could always look back to my parents. Like you all are causing this.
Hmm.
This is because of you. But then I believe that after a certain point, once your brain starts functioning, your hand and leg can function well,
Yeah.
then your fate is in your own hands.
Correct.
Then and again, I do tell sometimes, like taking money from your parents should not be something that you shy away from. It
Yeah.
can be with utmost authority.
Right.
We are here because of them.
Correct.
They are not here because of us.
True.
Right. So whenever opportunity presents to get back to your home, take something. Just don't feel like like they'll keep on taunting me, or they'll feel like now suddenly I'll have to surrender myself to them
Hmm.
because I've taken their money. Stop thinking that way.
Yeah.
You could change the conversation immediately.
Right.
Like as a parent, you have the onus. The onus is on you to be my protector somehow. So I mean, I'm just saying, like,
It makes sense. It absolutely makes sense.
hold your parents accountable. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. Why not? They are humans also.
Yeah.
But still forgive them for few things.
Forgiving is a very big
no,
and
no, so
something
I'm
which doesn't come
hang
easy.
on. I'm
actually.
trying to actually be a very big hypocrite here, because there are certain things which I resent of my parents also, and it's maybe where I am as of right now. I don't think I'll be able to forgive a few things, but then that's something
like
which I have to live by.
Understanding those things,
Right.
right? You hate them for that moment.
Mm,
Don't hate them entirely.
exactly.
You can very well always be mad at at the remembrance of a particular situation, circumstance
Yeah.
where they did not stand up to your hopes, expectations. That's fine. Like you hold them accountable. You hate them for it, but
Hmm.
that doesn't mean like I should not be hated for one deed.
No, so that's what I guess I could self-reflect on a few things, that things which matter. Maybe if certain things are absolutely no for you in the book, where things of beyond the whole simple premise of a family is actually questioned, right? Maybe forgiving that, I'm not sure if that is possible.
I
But-
think me and Virat were having a conversation, right? The day you realize that your parents are human beings and will commit a lot of mistakes is the day you sort of
Make
move
peace
on
and
make peace with it. That
Yeah.
okay, so they fucked up. So
No,
So
no,
that's
this is one of the cleanest podcasts. I am guessing we haven't cursed at all.
so they
Yeah.
they fucked up huge time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you need to just live with it and move on.
Like
you could your
like the great Varun says, life is not fair. Deal with it.
Yeah.
So I guess we can actually do a parallel topic on this, maybe on the next one, where we possibly talk about, say, suffering and things about that, and try and sort of identify certain ways of how you actually suffer, and what exactly is a hustle, or rather the one which we did last time, right? The hustle and sort of suffering, or the drag that you have. Maybe instead of hustle, let's try to keep struggle as a focus, and maybe try and speak about that. But I mean, coming to a pretty natural and the usual course of the podcast is the beautiful end, right? So, I mean, I guess a lot of things have been come up with, and a lot of things that were discussed here. Maybe we agreed on a few things, maybe we didn't. But I would still say I'm leaving from this podcast with certain very good food for my thoughts, and maybe while I'm self-reflecting, it's going to certainly help me out, and it's kind of an experience which I've gained out of this, right? So by just sharing, so I'd recommend all the listeners to sort of go out there, maybe share a few things, and then be actually listening to what's happening and whatever the other person is trying to communicate as such. So communication not necessarily is verbal. I would say communication can be anything, but be there to listen, be it through your eyes, your ears, your nose, or howsoever for that matter. Touch for a few. So, yep. I mean, that's kind of where we're at. I mean, I know a few folks in the room might just be disagreeing, but then that's completely fine. All I want to do here is sort of leave you guys with certain points to reflect upon, and maybe the actual course of the podcast, where we come up with a very beautiful surprise for the end of this one. And I'll be coming back soon with a certain new sort of things in my mind. For that matter, I'll have AB Chan with me, sort of managing these things, and I'll have certain new guests and certain old ones again back, and sort of trying and presenting myself to everyone out there. But I guess this is us, and definitely signing off right here. This is Mr. V signing off.
Signing off.
Who was that? Huh? Guess, listeners, guess. Who was that?
AB Chan signing off.
So yeah.
It's Nikhil signing off.
Hey, signing off. It's Pallavi.
Oh yeah. And that's the beautiful one. And cut.
And we have a lot of drinks. Celebrate the 10th episode, yeah. It's all on there. It's all on there. Biggest surprise is the drinks at the end now. And cut.
You just heard the VAbE podcast. And this is us signing off, leaving you all with a beautiful, beautiful track. Music credits in the description below. Find us on the major platforms by Google, Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Links in the description. Show us some love in the comments below. And do tell us what you loved about our thoughts. This is us signing off yet again. Peace.
Now minute में मोमबत्ती, दिया, टॉर्च या मोबाइल की फ्लैशलाइट दिखाएं।
I woke up this morning with my head exploding, and I swore to myself never again. I had too much Hey, now we gotta do it again. One more time. Come on, man. Smoking a regret, dodging a cigarette, living just another day. She saw me play guitar at a local bar. That's when I took her back to my place. She sat on my face and screamed my name, but I'm not into romantic games. 'Cause rage and roller got me in the place, and sex, drugs, and rock and roll are still my fate. Let me tell you where it all began. 2012 was when the world was gonna end. Me and the boys, we started a little band. 10 long years and now we're back at it again. Now we're here tonight, we're going back in time to the band that made your night and ruined your day. Rewind your clocks tonight to the herminating times. And if you're getting high, you know what to blame. It's an orgy night. Give them girls advice. Introduce them to your wife and hope to get laid. Things get super wild. Keep your lawyer by your side. Hide your money in Bitcoin. Don't blame me, blame the heart.
All right, ladies and gentlemen,
We've got something.
how nice it is to have you here tonight with us.
Let me see that drink in your hand.
Yeah, the
All I know is
band.
that I'm here tonight with all of you.
All right. Take out your hands from your pants.
Shooba-dooba-dabba-dabba-dooba.
Hey, waitress. Where's my rum and coke, man? Come on, give me my rum and coke. Am I gonna see you later tonight?
Hey, what's on the menu tonight?
Made your night and ruined your day.
The band. Do you have just that one big picture of titties?
Woo!
Because there's a party in my pants.
Fucking Nirvana.
So to all the people who are here tonight,
I needed an hour ago. Well, might as well light a cigarette while you do that.
All the gigs that we played, back to Kino 108.
all the pussies weren't aid, all the drugs that sort of did.
Each time a J got laid,
Every time we didn't get paid.
look around and they wait where the wind blows. And if you're having a mental block, it blows right up to my cock.
wrote the song tonight that we're gonna celebrate. And I'm not gonna give you hate if you don't blame me.
Blame the heart.
Now we're here tonight, going back in time to the band that made your night